Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
And the rocket's red glare, the bomb's bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Panogita moru purita nonda kantai mantunat nyagi toru ilugar para honra para gloria abiba isla sen para honra, para gloria, abiba isla sen para. Gitodu y tempo y paz para ita dan gini langit na bendición. Contra y peligro na fan sa fuham Deus protegis languam. Contra y peligro na fan sa fuham Deus protegis languam.
Driving round, windows down, warm breeze and a soulful sound. I got my mind made up about where I wanna be. Can't nobody take my home from me. There is no place like home. Send guys out wide, and I'm proud of where I'm from. Yeah, there's no place like home. Palm trees sway both night and day. Paradise is the only way. I got my mind made up about where I wanna be. Can't nobody take my home from me. There is no place like home. Send guys out gone, and I'm proud of where I'm from.
Good morning, Sabrina.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How was your evening?
It was all right. Rested up, kind of,
Rested
sort
up?
of.
Did you have any assignments?
In terms of what?
You know, since you're homeschooling your boy there.
I did that video, and actually we do have one more assignment that I didn't realize wasn't turned in because it was during the heat, right when things were starting to, heat up.
Right.
So I totally forgot about that packet.
Yeah, just so you guys know, Sabrina is a part-time teacher for St. Anthony Catholic School because her son has been furloughed from school like the rest of the students, and now all the parents have been deputized.
Yeah.
You should be getting a stipend from the school. The way I talk with other your private school parents, and they're like, yeah, we're doing all the assignments for them. There's a difference between teaching and assigning, apparently. 616, hey, good morning, Guam. How are you doing? How was your evening? We're ready for you guys today. Great, big, huge, like my friend Andy Wheeler says, ginormous show, and it's all proudly brought to you by Cabo Enterprises, IT&E, Ambrose Inc., Coast 360, and the Bank of Guam. It is the KUAM News takeover of Guam's favorite containing COVID, and there's so many ways to catch the show this morning, and we're going to have it's going to be a good show today. Of course,
Every day's a good show.
right, KUAM.com, I-94 right here on the radio. We're streaming live on the KUAM News app. There's an audio stream, Docomo Channel 10, and at 8 a.m. we jump on to KUAM TV 11 where we bring you the last 2 hours of the show. And last but not least, on the Edward R. Murrow award-winning social media networks of KUAM, good morning to our KUAM News Facebook viewers, questions, and commenters. I just saw a comment here from Ronnie. This is a good one.
Okay.
I like this. There are more important issues than Carl becoming the CEO of GVB. Chris, you were never that smart. All right, Ronnie, tell me what you really think, Ronnie. I never said I was that smart. I'm just consistent. I just been here. That's how you show up. You'd be surprised what happens when you keep showing up. And we showed up today, so let's do it. Our dive into the day's COVID-19 headlines from the KUAM News team. Good morning, Sabrina Salas-Mantanani.
Off it, everybody. Good morning. Only 30 individuals were tested by public health on Monday. 0 tested positive. The number of confirmed COVID-19 cases on Guam remains at 154 with 5 deaths and 126 recoveries. Reventax has processed and released over 50,000 economic impact payments, CIP, totaling $95.9 million in the last week. DRT is expected to process additional payments this week. For more information on the EIP program, you can go to www.guamtax.com. DRT's call center numbers are 635-1840-414257 and 635-7603-04 and 06. DRT, however, recommends emailing any questions regarding the Guam EIP program to guameip@revtax.guam.gov. Meanwhile, to say there was pent-up demand for revenue and taxation services Monday morning may be a huge understatement. The lines were long as DRT's main office in Barrigada was packed. Police and the National Guard were called in to direct traffic and provide security, and early on it appeared many were not following social distancing guidelines. By the afternoon, though, the lines had pretty much dissipated. For now, DRT services are limited and are split between the main office in Barrigada and the satellite office in the Agani Shopping Center. There are also special service hours for Manumco and the disabled. Check the DRT website for a list of what services are available and where. The governor expects to receive draft public health guidance for her consideration on May 21st. After this guidance has been reviewed and approved, the goal is to permit the opening of restaurants for dine-in services by Monday, May 25th. The governor's office, meanwhile, reminds everyone that restrictions will be relaxed based on available data and other factors. While we work to meet this goal, dates are fluid and may be revised. And now we head over to the CNMI where our Tomas Manglotnia is standing by over the phone. Tomas.
Good morning. Who's the
Good
latest
morning.
news in the Northern Mariana Islands? Yesterday, the CNMI Governor, the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation CEO Esther Munya, and Task Force Chair Warren Villagomez here in the CNMI held a press briefing. We asked the Governor about FEMA projections as the CNMI remains low in its COVID cases. Here's his response. Take a listen.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on the note about the flattened curve. Amid, I guess, the low numbers that we've been having, are you able to share any new projections that maybe look out in the next month or two that you've seen from FEMA or the hospital or any authority at all?
Not that I know of, but I do know that based on our last conversations with FEMA, that new projections will be coming forth in the latter date. But again, we focus on the potential of having 6,000 by mid-May, which is around this time. And we're definitely far from.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on the note about the flattened curve. I know the latest number we saw was that FEMA projection that's been widely shared online. Are there new projections amid, I guess, the low numbers that we've been having? Are you able to share any new projections that maybe look out in the next month or two that you've seen from FEMA or the hospital or any authority at all?
Not that I know of. But I do know that based on our last conversations with FEMA, that new projections will be coming forth in the latter date. But again, we focus on the potential of having 6,000 by mid-May, which is around this time. And we're definitely far from that. And again, this is a collaborative effort. Everybody has a stake in it. I know that there's going to be another one coming again, and another stats and projection trajectory on High Peak. We'll share that information as soon as it comes out. But the way we are.
The governor's authorized representative, Patrick Guerra, at the legislature last week told representatives that the funds will be paid with federal funds and are markers not to exceed. CNMI Governor Ralph Torres responded to these figures yesterday in the press briefing. He said that for him, it's not a matter of favoring somebody or a specific contractor. He says that during a pandemic and times of disaster, he adds, we have to look at what items and goods can be provided, and that's what he goes for. The task force notes how vital these facilities are to public health, especially with the mandatory quarantine for travelers and the alternate care site at Canoa Resort. Members of the legislature continue to scrutinize spending. KUAM spoke with Tina Sablan, a representative in the legislature, who's also part of the Oversight Committee for Federal Funds. She says that she's concerned most fundamentally about transparency and accountability. One of the issues that came up last week for her colleagues was that every contract, at least in response to COVID-19 so far in the CNMI, she says, has been a sole source emergency contract. And we wanted to provide the latest numbers to our viewers across the CNMI and Guam. In the CNMI, the cumulative number of confirmed COVID-19 cases remains at 21. The cumulative number of persons released from quarantine is 414. Number of deaths due to COVID-19 remains at 2. And the number of recovered cases is at 12. And now the number of specimens collected through Community Testing Initiative is 3,420. And Brian Chris, as we reported yesterday, Rhoda and Tinian continues their community-based testing initiative at the respective testing locations. That's the latest making news here in the Northern Marianas.
Tomas, how much did you say the contract worth was for the quarantine isolation facilities? You said PIC, or was it PIC?
Yeah, PIC is 11.7 million and 14.2 million for Canoa Resort. I spoke with Congresswoman Sablan yesterday, who questioned the GAR at last week's legislature hearing, which KUAM was also at, and they clarified that these are amounts not to exceed, and also include amounts for food and all of the other services, and also include funds for when they have to revert the hotel back to its regular state. And so this is, again, as the GAR put it, markers not to exceed in total during this pandemic.
What do you know anything about the duration of the contract, Tomas?
We don't know anything about that yet. I did ask the governor yesterday about whether or not he plans to extend the contract. He said that because the emergency declaration is in fact, was renewed the other day, that he does have plans to extend these contracts, especially with regards to quarantine travelers. He said that these two particular hotels met all the standards that they were looking for this non-congregate and quarantine shelter, and that they, as he put it, quote, they stepped up. And so yesterday at the press briefing, we asked him specifically about these hotel contracts. Of course, we're going to continue to ask the GAR about them and get those exact dates, but the governor says that there is a plan to extend the contracts because of their vital use during this pandemic.
Is there a lot of people staying in these quarantine facilities?
Well, right now we don't know the exact count at Kanoa, because we know that for Kanoa they tend to just be active cases there, and so it looks like we have about 7 right now. I'm not sure if all 7 are there, but we do know that we were told that no home isolation is happening here in the CNMI. And then for PIC, the number of people released from quarantine that we're seeing here is 414 since this all started. So I know that PIC came on later on, but the number of people released from quarantine do come from these facilities.
All right. Thanks a lot, Tomas.
All right, Tomas.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Tomas Maglotny again with the latest in the CNMI, and now back to more of our day's COVID-19 headlines with Sabrina Salas-Mantanani.
Speaker Tina Munoz-Barnes introduced Bill 359, aimed at addressing the controversy over double pay. The legislation would compensate classified workers called to work during the COVID-19 pandemic. Bill 359 was in partnership with the Guam Federation of Teachers, Senators Pito Terlahi, Clint Rangel, Will Castro, and Mary Torres. Under the measure, any classified employee that worked during the emergency period of March 20th through May 10th will be entitled to 1 hour of additional annual leave for every hour worked, not to exceed 240 hours of annual leave, provided that the classified employee was required to physically report to work during the emergency period and did not receive any additional compensation, administrative leave, or compensatory time off aside from what was provided in her executive order, or any applicable hazardous, night, or overtime differential pay. In addition, up to 120 hours of the COVID-19 Heroes annual leave may be paid in lump sum compensation at the request of the employee before October 1st of 2020. The governor, during a press conference on Monday, expressed her support for the bill. Meanwhile, Vice Speaker Talina Nelson also introduced legislation to pay double pay to essential workers. Senator James Moylan is requesting an opinion from the Attorney General and Public Auditor on a law which prohibits bonus pay for unclassified employees. The Republican senator is seeking clarification as to whether the prohibition applies to the payment of the governor's COVID-19 differential pay, which he believes is considered as bonus pay. Quote, I believe it is vital to attain an interpretation from both of your offices, as the question requires both a legal perspective as well as one of accountability. If indeed a violation has occurred, then the matter needs to be addressed immediately. Likewise, if this warrants a change of the language in the statute, we can certainly look into that as well. The National Guard is taking over and is now in charge of quarantine operations, and on Monday they began their mission of transferring individuals from Pacific Star to the newly awarded General Services Agency contracted Hotel Santa Fe and Wyndham Garden. The change in oversight comes after new contracts by the Department of Homeland Security and Civil Defense were signed, approved, and awarded by the GSA, designating Santa Fe and Wyndham Garden to serve as the quarantine facilities for incoming travelers. As we've reported, the previous agreements for quarantine isolation facilities with the local government went unsigned by various officials, including the AG, Civil Defense, and the governor herself. According to emails obtained by KUAM via FOIA requests, they indicated the governor's legal counsel, Haig Hyun, led the previous negotiations for the procurement of those facilities. On Monday, during Adelu's daily press briefing, the media heavily questioned Governor Lulian Guerrero on the contracts in the previous verbal agreement, and she stands by utilizing her special powers.
First of all, it's not
the
an
Guam National
acknowledgement.
Guard has assumed oversight operations of the quarantine facilities, those now being Santa Fe Hotel and Wyndham Garden, Days Inn. So will the directors and deputy directors...
First of all, it's not an acknowledgement that the first process was illegal or not correct.
Okay. Okay, so then there would be no accountability needed from their governor. How will PacStar's payment then be justified moving forward?
Nick, there is accountability always from our government and our administration. We're very transparent. We're very accountable. We work very closely with our administration. We work very closely with making sure that we are in no violation of the laws and the regulations. The Public Health Emergency Act gives me that authority. And the authority is that I can institute emergency powers to purchase these facilities. And, you know, I have explained in numerous occasions why I did that. And it's all for containing the virus, saving lives. And it's unfortunate that from this virus, we have had 5 fatalities. Nowhere in the history of our disaster in Guam have we ever lost this much individuals who we love so dearly and who are members of our community. So I had to act, like I said, very expeditiously. I had to make decisions right away. So none of the work and none of the actions, none of the decisions that I have made is incorrect. None of the decisions that I have made is illegal. And so I do not.
All right. So you and I are paying $93 a night for rooms at the Santa Fe and $110 a night at the Wyndham Garden. Meals are included, and we're only paying for the rooms we are using. As for the governor's cabinet on quarantine patrol, she believes, the governor, that they deserve special recognition for their work.
Guam National Guard has assumed oversight. The Guam National Guard has assumed oversight operations of the quarantine facilities. You know, those now being Santa Fe Hotel and Wyndham Garden, Days Inn. So will the directors and deputy directors that were previously manning the sites be subject to a 14-day quarantine or have to undergo testing prior to returning back to their agencies?
You know, I haven't really discussed that with them. I don't know if they're totally all gone, and I don't know. I think there's a transition period still that's happening because we still have to transition from Pacific Star over to the other facilities. So I don't think we will be doing a 14-day quarantine, but testing is a strong possibility.
Okay, but just to clarify, as far as you know, they will not have to do even at home quarantine or anything.
That's right.
Okay. All right. For my follow-up and just staying on this transition, do you think your cabinet members and political hires who, you know, have described themselves as quarantine soldiers and quarantine shepherds, do they deserve a special recognition for their efforts in responding to COVID? Or do you believe they are already benefiting from their salaries with that additional 15% COVID differential pay, the catered meals that were there? Does that show their efforts were appreciated?
I think all of those show their efforts are being appreciated. And yes, I would like to do a special recognition for these individuals who have sacrificed their families. They have not gone home. These individuals have sacrificed their lives. They have volunteered and they have agreed to put themselves in an environment that has increased exposure to the COVID-19, and what they have done to also allay the fears of our people that are quarantined, to provide the necessities that they need, and to be just there for support for these people that are quarantined. So yes, they do deserve a.
Roosevelt sailors are simulating being at sea while moored at Naval Base Guam. During the simulation or fast cruise, the crew will simulate normal underway conditions while testing the critical systems required to sustain the ship during its upcoming underway operations. TR Commanding Officer Captain Carlos Sardello says a fast cruise is a major milestone for the ship and for the crew. The captain adding, our sailors have tested all of the ship's systems individually, but this is our opportunity to integrate all of that together and show that the Theodore Roosevelt is ready and able to go back to sea. In addition to testing the ship's systems, TR crew will also be implementing new measures to protect the crew from possible exposure to COVID. The crew has spent the past month and a half adjusting to their normal work routine while wearing masks and maintaining social distancing. In national news, Boston-based Moderna Therapeutics announced the successful completion of its phase 1 tests for a coronavirus vaccine. Skylar Henry has more details from the White House.
A government-run test of a Moderna Therapeutics vaccine candidate showed all 8 recipients developed antibodies for COVID-19.
Those same antibodies that those people had developed actually could neutralize the virus and prevent its ability to infect human cells.
Moderna will soon begin phase 2 trials with the goal of having a viable vaccine by the end of the year.
There are circumstances where the vaccine could be deployed to high-risk populations earlier under something called an emergency use authorization.
The government has launched Operation Warp Speed, which will begin manufacturing several different vaccines before the trials are completed.
We have hundreds of millions of people, so 300 million is the goal, and by January that we would set, whether by one or multiple vaccine candidates.
President Trump is speaking with restaurant executives and the nation's governors this afternoon as he pushes to reopen the country. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell told 60 Minutes that the country will not fully reopen until there is a vaccine.
We can't fully recover, though, until people feel confident that they're safe.
The Fed chief also said Congress needs to inject more money into the economy. But the White House is taking a wait-and-see approach before supporting another massive relief package.
If the economy continues the momentum that we're beginning to see over the last couple of weeks of data, then I think that one might conclude that the stimulus that we've already passed is enough.
The House passed a $3 trillion spending bill Friday evening, but Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has declared it dead on arrival in the Senate. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
Senator McConnell says he too will wait to see how previous spending bills impact the economy before moving forward. In your Banking 671 report, according to consolidatedcredit.org, protecting your finances during COVID-19 is an all-encompassing article written to give you advice on tips for now, tips for the future, avoiding scams, and government relief updates. Here's some advice on what you can do to keep your finances healthy. The coronavirus continues to have far-reaching effects on the global economy and our stock market. But even if you are not invested in domestic and foreign markets, there are financial concerns much closer to home that this global pandemic has caused. These tips can help you keep your finances in working order. This group is also working to keep you updated on the latest relief programs so that can help you get through the crisis, as well as how to avoid COVID-related financial scams. Go to consolidatedcredit.org for more information on keeping your finances protected during the pandemic. And that is your 671 Banking Report, sponsored by Coast 360 and the Bank of Guam. You all right over there?
Yeah, I forgot how to put on my headphones. Good morning. So that was definitely an interesting press conference yesterday. Like you said, the media heavily questioning the governor and about this first round of procurement. So we're actually going to get from the Office of Civil Defense, Charles Estevez, to come on later on in the show and kind of unpack the awarding of the bids. That, I mean, it is what it is. Clearly, there were many people who had many issues with the way the first round of procurement was done. And I think it's also clear that the governor is very defensive about that.
Clearly.
It was just, I don't think we're going to get another press conference for a few days after yesterday.
Probably not, because they moved into recovery mode.
Darn media and your pesky meddling questions. 6:39. Yeah, so obviously we're going to be talking about that throughout most of the morning. Not sure how I would have handled that question if I was the governor, but I mean, again, it is what it is. We obviously had some issues with the first round of procurement, and then we brought in the professionals to handle it the traditional way. I think that's the nice way to say it, instead
the
of like
traditional way?
The traditional way.
The by the book way?
And I mean, again, it is what it is. That's what everyone's saying is like, if there wasn't a problem with the way that the legal counsel handled it the first time, then why do we need to redo it the right way?
Because now we want to try and get FEMA reimbursement.
Right. So at 6:40, and then the other thing that kind of got me a little bit was the governor saying that she wants some special recognition for the quarantine shepherds, the quarantine soldiers. And this is, to me, this is an example of, I've seen it in politics in this administration. It's like the things that they should just shut up about, they want to talk all day about. And the things that they should talk all day about, we don't hear anything on. For example, this quarantine shepherd thing, I mean, we're not buying it. no one out here is buying it. They're not buying that, there was this heavy sacrifice. We feel like they were more than justly compensated with the high salaries, with the 15% COVID pay, with the catered meals. And so I think any other special recognition what are we going to do? Are we going to have a government house party again, or what type of special recognition? We had another question, but we don't. We get one question and one follow-up. Maybe we could ask, well, what kind of special recognition? Are we going to get, medals? Are they going to get Ancient Order of the Chamorro? Are they
Stop. That cannot happen. That would
And
be
then-
just beyond ridiculous.
It's already beyond ridiculous, Bree. And then the other thing is...
Over the top ridiculous.
It's way over the top and down the other side, way over the top. The other thing is, when we asked if these directors and deputy directors are going to be put in a 14-day quarantine or tested for COVID-19, the response from the governor was no. But then in her answer, in talking about how much these quarantine saviors sacrifice to keep our island safe, she said that they were exposed. Right? She said they were exposed to COVID-19. So if they were exposed to COVID-19, why aren't we going to test them and put them in the 14-day quarantine?
Exactly.
Safety first, guys.
Well, even still, when you're rotating them in and out, these essential, like the DYA director, if she was going in and out of that facility working a shift, she should have been put on quarantine. Any of them, really, when you look at it.
Yeah, it makes sense, Bree. But, okay, Jay.
Okay, just want to pop in here real quick. Oops. Hi, good morning, everybody. Just want to pop in here real quick. Jerry Mancipit posts probably the comment of the morning right now. We got it up on the screen. Jerry is not a top fan of ours on Facebook yet, but I guess we're going to go ahead and nominate Jerry because I wonder if FEMA accepts the "it is what it is" explanation.
I could just see that.
Legally, practically, comically. That is a hell of an argument. That's a good question to ask.
I just want to see some FEMA documents and just "it is what it is" in red pen.
Is there a rubber stamp that says "it is what it is," or maybe like a meme that you can pass around? Maybe.
This "it is what it is." It started with the governor saying it, right?
Yep.
And then we had the quarantine soldier Rebecca Respicio saying it, and now talking to Tomas Maglotnia, they're saying it in the CNMI as a joke about Guam. Yeah, so
we have become a meme, whether you're generating animated GIFs about us or not. We have become the punchline.
It is what it is, Jay.
Well,
I love it. It's just
good point.
It's so applicable to everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, Chris, what's for lunch today?
It is what it is.
You're turning treat for lunch, right? What happened?
It is what it is.
Oh man.
They should come out with that for Christmas. The Adaloop Magic 8 Ball. Every time you shake it, the answer is always, "It is what it is." 6:44. Let's go to the phones where we have the Republican Party of Chair of Guam, a former Senator Tony Atta, you guys had come out with a release. Good morning, Senator. First of all,
good morning.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Bree. How you guys doing? Good morning, Jason.
We're doing pretty good, but you'd come out with a release because when the governor announced her, Bree, was it the same time she announced the Programa Nadudan Salapi Pare Tautau program that she had also announced the small business relief?
Yeah, that
program?
was the $20 million for Programan Salapi Tsudani Tautau, and then $20 million for small businesses, and we've actually been waiting to hear what is going on with this $20 million set aside.
Right, and I had to check because when the Republicans sent a release about it, thanks for the reminder, Senator.
Yeah, exactly. Because we were just wondering as well what happened to that $20 million. Has it been given out? Has it been But as they finalize their plans, we want to make sure that everything's accounted for. And it just, Chris, just everything that's going on right now. We haven't heard anything about the small business grant program. And I know there's a lot of businesses out there that are still hurting that can utilize these funds that are available.
No, well, we hear you. It just seems like it's another one of those things that I'm going to do this. I have this plan, and then nobody knows what the
There's
hell's
no
going
plan.
on.
Yeah, exactly. And everything sounds good on the surface, right? And it's a good thing that they're doing this to come out with this program, but we're not hearing anything on it and how it's going to move forward, the accountability, things like that. And I hope that when it does get implemented, that the transparency is there, and what businesses applied for the grant, who, and also what amount was granted. And I think that would be the best accountability, so that the people of Guam can see where the money went on this small business program.
Are you hearing anything, Senator, about has anybody gotten any grants? Because we actually brought this up with the Lieutenant Governor last week, and I want to say he said that they were still working on it. Or
I think so.
Yeah, or he said go check Dr. Ricky.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't heard anything, and that's why we came out with our release. That,
right,
if they're working,
maybe they forgot, Senator, and your release from. Oh man, you're right. God, there's so many programs, so little time.
Yeah, so but we just want to make sure there's accountability and transparency in distributing these grants, because just like with the PPP program that the federal government, USBA, did, everything's accounted for, and the process that you go through just to get that loan turned into a grant after 7 weeks, right? You use it for payroll.
Right.
Then we need to ensure that type of accountability is for the $20 million that's set aside for this small business grant. And, that it is distributed evenly. And, perhaps something that they can think about is you put a cap, maybe $100,000, $100,000, for businesses that apply for it, or, and, spread it out evenly so that we're able to help more businesses with, 50 to 100,000 versus giving one business $5 million and, you only help 4 of them.
Are we, can you go onto the GITA website? Is there anything on the GITA website?
Let me check.
Did we even have a name for this? Was this the Programa Nazura ni Business Tautau, or?
I don't think there was a name.
There wasn't any name yet, and I don't think there's any rules or regulations, or even a when they did the economic assistance for with that first $20 million, they came out immediately with how to apply for it, but we haven't heard anything on the business side of how they can apply for this grant.
Yeah, there isn't an application, or.
Yeah, and there's a lot of small businesses. I mean, even micro businesses that are hurting, that could utilize this money immediately so that they can try and get back on their feet. And now that we got our economy opening up again, we want to make sure that those small micro businesses are able to be on the open up as well, and not be lost in the shuffle and we lose them.
Okay, I'm gonna message someone. We tried to get Dr. Ricky on the show, and what the policy director Carlo Brancha told us is that he's very, very busy because he's involved in the HENEMLA and the recovery. Oh, that's the recovery one. He's just he's a busy guy, man. There's a lot of economical stuff going on.
Yeah, definitely. I understand that they're busy, but I still think that even 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes of their time to explain what's going on or where we're at in this process would be able to give people a peace of mind that yes, there is relief in sight, and we can see down the road in 3 days that the applications will be coming out, things like that.
Something had popped up and then it just went away. So you haven't heard absolutely anything, not even a hint from any of the senators down at the legislature?
No, that's why we came out with our release.
Right.
And, and the party coming out with the release is to ensure that the federal funds that come into Guam by President Trump, that has graciously, included Guam in a lot of these programs and monies that are coming in, we want to make sure they're accounted for, so that in the event there is a second round, that Guam continues to be a part of that, and Guam continues to receive federal funding.
Yeah, because that's going to be from the CARES Act. So yeah, I get what you're saying there, but I just still can't believe that we haven't had a word. I almost feel like they make me feel like, are we missing something? And then you find out, no, they just didn't announce anything, because it just seems like such a big oversight that you're going to come out and announce these programs for $20 million for small businesses, and then there's nothing after that. There's no application. There's no follow-up. There's no follow-up on an application. There's no telling the people how they can fill out an application that, for what we know, doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm saying a lot of these small businesses are, they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out how they're going to move forward. And this is a way they can move forward, is if the administration comes out with the application and what needs to be done so that these businesses can get part of this grant.
Well, we'll definitely put it out there, Senator. I know they're listening.
Yeah, we really need to ensure that everybody has accountability of what goes on. But at the same token, we need to ensure that our people, are considered in all of these things that they're doing, so that when it comes down to additional funding from the federal government, that they're not going to refuse us and say, well, you guys didn't take care of that first round of COVID, so
right.
we're not going to include you in the second round.
Yeah.
But
Senator, I wanted to ask you, because I saw that one of the Republican senators had come out with a release about this COVID differential pay for the directors and the deputy directors, the political hires who the governor believes deserve more special recognition for their quarantine shepherding. So anyway, Senator Moylan came out of the release, says he doesn't believe that the directors, the deputy directors, the unclassified political hires, he doesn't believe they're entitled to COVID differential pay, which he says is bonus pay. Is that a party thing, or is he just shooting off stuff on his own?
No, I think, Chris, that's law. That's a statute, and I think it was in the 33rd Guam legislature that then Senator Cruz, BJ Cruz, introduced, so that no unclassified employees, the directors like that, deputy directors, get any type of bonus pay. So
right, yeah. Let me read that off here. It's dear attorney. It's a letter from Senator Moylan to Public Auditor BJ Cruz and Attorney General Levin Camacho. Dear AG Camacho and Public Auditor Cruz, my office would like to bring to your attention and seek a clarification on the intent of Public Law 33-123 and how it applies to the payment of COVID-19 differential pay to unclassified employees of the government of Guam. He goes on to say, since the COVID-19 differential pay is essentially pay that is a sum authorized and or paid that is separate and apart from and or added to the base pay, this is in essence would be qualified as a bonus pay as defined in this statute.
Yeah. So that's why I'm just a little bit confused there as to why they wouldn't consider that a bonus pay. Anything above what their base salary is considered bonus or additional pay.
I'm just thinking about, because we had former Governor Eddie on the show last week, and he had said something along the lines of, if I had done this stuff, I would have climbed to the top of the mountain and screamed out over all the way to the Marianas Trench.
Well, when you think about it, Chris, when that law was first introduced and then went down to the governors for signature, it was vetoed, and then the legislature overrode the governor's veto. So that there says that no, we're not going to give it to you.
They believe in this, right?
Yeah.
But maybe they only believe it applies to Republicans and Democrats get a slide on it.
But
I mean, I don't know why when this issue of the COVID differential pay came out, if this is something that is on the books, I don't know why the AG wouldn't come out, or the public auditor wouldn't come out and say, hey, by the way, there's a law about this.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, to be fair, the public auditor is doing an audit on the pay issue, but I'm not sure if it's the double pay or the COVID pay or the COVID differential pay or the quarantine shepherd pay or the quarantine soldier pay.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at it, they're with the differential pay and then the double pay. Well, okay, there's two laws that are in place. That's the double pay and the no bonus pay, right? But it's switched around to where they turn around.
Well, we're ignoring the double pay.
And we're ignoring the double pay, and we're going to go ahead and give the bonus pay. So,
I mean, the optics of that, Senator, because I know you heard the news. We played the news. The governor really going to bat for her political hires. Optically, right, as a Republican Party chair, someone who was running in a campaign, how does that look to you that the governor has just doubled down, tripled down, and saying that, yeah, these guys, they sacrifice so much, they deserve more special recognition? Is that something that you think is a good look for the administration?
Well, Chris, it's always good to give your, the employees, a pat on the back, always, because they do their work, they do above and beyond. But at the same token, we're in a pandemic. It's expected of them to do the job that they were hired to do, and these are the people that the political hires are the people that the governor brought on, knowing that these people will be there no matter what, and what's expected of them is to go above and beyond. So, giving them that extra pat on the back, I don't think it was necessary. But recognition, recognition is always good. But the additional recognition, I don't think was necessary.
I'm just looking over this. So apparently, Ricky Hernandez, when the speaker held her informational briefing, he did appear before senators. Actually, most of the governor's people spoke before the legislature, providing an update on how they've been spending and how they've been responding to COVID-19. So I see the PowerPoint presentation, and it says that, all it says is 20 million small business relief program update. And so that's just on the PowerPoint. So Ricky, I believe he spoke on the matter. So we'd have to go back and review that entire
or he could have just, called the media or whatever and said, hey, this is the deal.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that would be the best, right? And that way, everyone knows, not just the media, but the people of Guam will know.
Yeah. I didn't mean like, he needs to tell the media. I'm just saying, tell us, and then we'll tell everybody, or you can tell everybody.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people listen to your show, so if he comes up onto the radio and says, "Hey, this is where we're at with the grant program for the small businesses, please, go ahead and give us a call or go online at this website and start filling out the applications." Things like that. It's never too late to change course, and it's never too late to ensure that transparency and accountability and honesty is there. So, these are the things that they can do moving forward, so that in the event, like I said, additional funding come down, Guam will always be included.
Right on. So we'll let you know. I guess we're going to go back over that presentation later and figure out what the deal is. But, I mean, no matter what the update says, looking at the website, we didn't see an application. We didn't see a process. We didn't see anything to these businesses who are struggling about how can you guys get this $20 million? It's just sitting there, gathering dust or interest or whatever.
Well, and that's why, as a party, we're going to always look at all these different programs that are going on. We want to ensure that, like I said, ensure that the federal money that's coming down is being used for what they're supposed to be used, and ensure that we're always included in future grants. And
you know what else though I haven't seen really is the Programan Salapi Adzudani Tautau. We do get the updates on the EIP, and I think that's because it comes from the Department of Revenue and Taxation, so they provide information on how much is paid out, how many checks, but we haven't necessarily seen that with the Programan Salapi Itsudin Itautau program. I know there was the 20 million for that. Right. So I think the last time we received an update was it over the weekend or Monday? The 750,000 had been paid out.
Yeah. So
and that's not even that much.
Yeah. So I mean, even with that program, I know they extended it until June, probably 7th, I think. I
think June 12th.
Correct. June 12th.
I think.
So anyway, what they should do is actually up the bar on that, right? So up the income so that more people can qualify for that. Let's get more people to take advantage of the funding that's there, so that they can provide for their families, put food on the table, put gas in the car, whatever it may be. But at least that $300 can go somewhere for them. But it's not going to be able to, if we don't expand the program, to get more people on there. I mean, obviously they're extending it until June, and only so many people have applied. And if that's all they spent was 750,000, then it's saying a lot that they need to expand the program to include more people.
Right. Well, thank you, Senator. We just wanted to bring you on and get your. It's always good to get a different perspective. So thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you. And like I said, the party will always be looking at these things and seeing how the federal programs or the federal monies are being spent, and ensuring accountability and transparency so that we can always be afforded that additional funding should they pass any other act.
You got it.
I want to, before we let you go, this is an election year. How are you guys looking in terms of putting up a slate? Are you going to put up just a 15 slate of candidates, or are you guys, how's recruitment going?
Well, we have quite a bit of candidates for senator, but we're looking for more candidates, and that way we can put up a complete slate and hopefully be able to get the majority in this upcoming election so that, we can give that administration the checks and balances that really need to be there, because there's absolutely no checks and balances. And, I'm not sure if the legislature is just rubber stamping everything that the administration says, but the last time the Republican Party have won check, there were 3 branches of government. Today, it only seems like there's only 2, the judiciary and administrative legislative branch. We'll see how it goes.
All right. All right. Thanks, Senator Ada.
Thank you.
All
you
right.
guys have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you for
Okay.
All right. Take care.
7:02, Guam's favorite. We're going to take a little break. Again, it's the KUAM News takeover of Guam's favorite 994. We're KUAM FM, and Agatni Guam containing COVID continues next. Good morning.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD. healthy. Be informed with ITD. Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Tactics on funds. You would think that prior to any announcement of funds or assistance, the government would have done it better to have all forms, step-by-step process implemented to assure people are informed properly, as opposed to announcing there's money sitting on it while people wait on how to get such assistance. Leche. Well, it is what it is.
They're making their social media graphics right now.
Yeah. 709. And we've seen that where they announce stuff and nobody knows about it. And I just think it's very unnerving when you call. I mean, let's just be real. The government should know stuff. Right? Of all the people, the government should know the stuff. They should know the information. So whether it's announcing that you're going to need to put a certain letter on your vehicle to drive around through the checkpoints, or that there's an aid program locally available, or whatever, they make these announcements, and then you get the people at the Joint Information Center, the people in the media, the senators, the mayors, everybody gets stuck holding the lack of information bag because we weren't clued in or they weren't put in the loop. So when they make these announcements, people call 311 or whatever, and they don't even know what the process is. They don't know the information. But anyway, like I said, it is what it is. 710, you know, there's an election coming up. I know that's got a lot of people excited. But we have a special election, and then we have the regular election, which is going to be pretty special because of the COVID. So we wanted to bring Maria Pangilinan, the Executive Director of the Guam Election Commission, onto the show. Good morning, Maria.
Hasaday Chris Barnett and Sabrina Salas Batanani.
Hi, Maria Pangilinan.
So I guess let's just start, Fen, on the special election. I heard that you guys were going to do like a run-through for the commissioners.
Yes. So, you know, in a regular election, we would always have a test election. And that's when the public can observe election return center during the tabulation period. So we will have a quasi-test election come Friday, May 29th. The special election is set for Saturday, May 30th, at MU Lujan Elementary School from 7 o'clock a.m. to 8 o'clock p.m.
How many registered voters?
I'm sorry, Sabrina?
How many registered voters in Jotnia?
We have about 27, we have over 2,700. And we are doing district registration right now. That means that there's voter registration going on at the Jotnia Mayor's office and at the Guam Election Commission from 8 o'clock to 8 o'clock every day up until tomorrow, Wednesday. Anybody can come in and register, transfer, update their registration. Anybody can do that, and that's at the Jotnia Mayor's office and the Guam Election Commission arcade office, which is on the first floor of the GCIC building arcade side.
And you guys aren't allowing anybody upstairs into the office, right, because of the social distancing?
Correct. And our if you've been into our office, both of you have been, it's very open. And so we are waiting for our shields, but we were lucky enough to be able to get downstairs, first floor, temporary offices. That way people don't have to crowd into the elevator to go up to the second floor. So we do have first floor offices, and we will maintain that first floor office until such time that the executive order is not in place anymore, or that we don't have to do social distancing.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the run-through, Miss Maria? Because I heard that you guys are going to be all decked out in your hazmat suits.
Not true, Chris. We for the election itself, on election day, we will take some measures. And the first thing we want to tell the Jotnia voters is that we will be taking their temperatures. And if anybody registers with the temperature of 100 degrees or over, we will service you in the car. We will also require masks. That doesn't mean that if you don't have a mask, we'll turn you away. GEC has some contingency. So if we are encouraging all the Jotnia voters, please show up on Saturday, May 30th from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and please bring your mask and bring your pen. We want to encourage the Jotnia voters to bring their pen and their mask. We'll minimize passing around the COVID.
You guys have any pens? Because, you know.
Yes, sir, we have pens, and that's our contingency. We have pens and we have masks. We are going to start precinct official training tonight. For the special election, we will train them in sanitizing voting booths first, possibly pens, and when I say possibly pens, we will sanitize pens if we're not giving them away. But if we're giving them away, we will sanitize them. And don't get excited. They're the real, they're the pens that we normally use, and they're not anything special. They're not.
Is this the government issue pen, Miss Maria? Remember the old black and silver one?
Yes. No, not even. Those.
They need to bring those back.
Yeah, but those might be too expensive for our endeavor here. So we are trying to do what we can with the little we have to make it a safe election.
What about the tabulations? Is this going to be a hand count or manual, or are you going to run it through the machines?
Okay, there's only one office, so it'd be faster if we do the hand count. So we will count there, and our election at MU Lujan, and the election return center will be the MU Lujan cafeteria. So we will hand count, and while the precinct officials are reconciling in the election return center right there in Jotnia, we will have interested media present. We will have political party representatives for observers as well.
Okay, so it's going to be like a UOG Election Central, but on a much smaller scale at the Jotnia cafeteria.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Are we anticipating to get the results that night, right?
Yes. I think so. My staff and I have been talking about it and doing a good run through, and we think we're going to get it that evening or that night.
Mm-hmm. And I can't remember, is it 4 or 5 candidates on the ballot for Jotnia?
There are 6. There were
6.
7. There are 6 now.
Okay. All right.
What about the regular election? Have we even got to the point where we're deciding if all these measures are still going to be in place? I mean, how do you prep for something you're not really sure about?
So we plan the same measures, but on a bigger scale. And there are some things we have to do different because we are talking. There are some things we have to do different because it's a 67 precincts across 22 polling sites. We are also, Bill number 330 there was a public hearing on Friday, and in our conversation with the senators, they're looking to see what options we have and what feasible options there are, and what needs to be changed in the Guam election code. We are looking at, we're looking at all the options. We're looking at mail-in ballots. We're looking at vote centers. We are also looking at the traditional election where we have it open on 7 to 8 o'clock on election day, and that's August 29th already. That's pretty soon. With the in-office voting, that's a hard one. And for the special election for Jotnia, we are hosting in-office voting for those that cannot make it to the polls on Saturday, May 30th. We are going to have in-office voting on Tuesday, I think that's on May 26th, all the way to May 29th. So the week of the election, Saturday is May 30th, 26th to the 29th. Monday is a holiday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we will have in-office elections, in-office absentee voting, for those Jotnia voters that cannot make it to the polls on Saturday, May 30th. That in and of itself, in-office voting and homebound voting, in our environment right now, in our current environment, those are hard to deal with, but we are dealing with it. We are prepping ourselves. The GEC is prepping so that we don't disenfranchise any voter, and we're trying our hardest. We are working with public health and some private partners who are in the medical field to help us with making sure that our precautionary measures are right in line. And we are working also with our national partners to make sure that we get the best practices right here on Guam.
Well, that's good to hear, Miss Maria. We want to check in with you weekly, just get a little update if that's okay in this election. First of all, it's a totally different election because the two main things that people running for office normally do during an election they can't do, which is shaking hands and kissing babies. Totally off limits. Game changer.
So for election day, a couple of our Jotnia special election candidates were asking about hospitality tents.
Mm-hmm.
So the Guam Election Commission says this: everything within 100 feet of the gate is the priority of the Guam Election Commission. What happens there, absolutely no electioneering. So what happens after the 100 feet is up to the public.
Right. If you guys want to barbecue and have the ribs and, the red rice and,
Chris Malafunction, Burnett, absolutely not. What I've told the candidates is that please listen to what the executive order tells us. Please know that we are all trying to stay healthy, and we are all trying to protect the Jonia voters.
Right, but if they wanted to give away plates less than 10 at a time, they would be. I'm pretty sure these campaigns, Miss Maria, they're thinking about how can we get around this, because that is a big part of the election, right? Is let's go and eat, eat, right?
Yes, Chris, and actually, one of the candidates
You just want to eat.
I just want to eat.
already coined a phrase, grab and go.
That's it.
They
Yep.
said, Maria, can I do a grab and go? I go, sir, if you're, that's outside the purview
I
of
got
the
it,
Guam
Miss
Election
Maria.
Commission.
Ballot and balutin. Trademark.
Sir, they cannot balutin the ballot.
No, they ballot. They fill their
They go
ballot
ballot
night, and then they balut that night
Okay.
after.
All right, you two.
Bota
Good.
and
Bota.
balutin. There you go.
There you go. That's why we're a team, Sabrina. All right, Miss Maria, go put that on all the stationery. Bota and balutin.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, may
Yes.
I just put in one more?
Please.
Candidate filing is ongoing for the primary election. So Guam Election Commission is open to accept candidates who are ready to file from 8 o'clock to 1 o'clock every day, Monday through Friday. Next week, Monday will be closed because of the holiday. But your packet must be complete. On our website, you will find directions as to how, if you're still having problems getting your clearances, which you should not have at this time, but you may consult our website to find out about getting in touch with the 3 offices.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Maria.
Hanzumas.
Wash your hands.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. It is what it is. Okay, bye.
You can also find out on the GEC website who's actually running, or who's filed and running for office. So there's
Okay.
a couple of people in the mayoral elections, and there's only one person so far that is signed up to run for the senatorial race.
Okay,
Jason?
there was at least one person also in the comment stream that was asking, things are still really, really weird right now for the government of Guam in a variety of ways, but they were saying, with this current condition of the world right now, is this probably going to force national and especially local, the GEC, to accelerate online voting? Everybody's saying, West
Yeah.
Virginia tried that in the last election. They said it worked okay. They did a small sample set. So that obviously is the way we're going to go into the future. But does this force everybody to quickly adopt that kind of thing? You've got massive security concerns, privacy concerns, and everything. But now everybody's got to think about that.
Right. Good point, Jay. 7:24. Let's keep it on the phones here. And we've been talking about the recovery with the businesses and the assistance and all that stuff. And really wanted to put a little more focus on the response to COVID-19 and the coronavirus, because we are still in the midst of a pandemic and public health emergency. And I was just thinking last night, so much of our conversation has been about economic stuff and aid and the hijinks of the administration and the senators. So let's kind of focus back on the COVID-19, why we're all here in the first place, with Dr. Janamat Glotnia from Public Health. Good morning, Doctor.
Morning. How are you all?
We're doing good.
Good. Okay.
And yourself, how are you doing?
Doing fine. Thank you for having me again.
Always a pleasure.
I guess just first of all, they come current on your COVID pay, because last time we had talked to you, you told us that you, like some of the nurses, were a little bit shortchanged. So we just want to find out right off the bat, have they squared up with you guys?
No, we haven't been long changed yet. The director did file papers with BBMR, so it looks like everything's trying to get on track. And I think there were a couple of bills that people have filed, so hopefully those will come through, or one of them anyway.
Yeah.
And so, because we just kind of want to get this part out of the way, what are the nurses saying about it? Because, they took to the streets picketing, and you would think that after that, it would be kind of like, okay, we're going to give you your money.
They're not saying anything. Everyone's just going back to work, and it's like they said it's out there, and march on.
March on.
Keep on marching. There you go.
Yeah.
So where are we with testing?
We have plenty of tests on island, which is really good. We didn't have this early on, and would have been nice. It didn't change much. To be a little more specific, if I didn't have any tests at all, what would I do? Nothing. If it looks like COVID, we treat it like COVID. So with or without a test, it's still treated like COVID. Same thing with tuberculosis. None of the tests are perfect. 100% would be nice. They may be close, but you still get TB cases. Look like TB, smell like TB, you treat it like TB, but you just can't get that test to come back on the sputum as being positive. But we know it is TB. Same thing with COVID. Only it's a little more up and down with COVID because with TB, everything we use is FDA approved, and that's our big stamp of approval. One thing that really needs to be brought to the forefront is that COVID is so new that all the tests, the medications, and the vaccinations are all under EUA. What is that? It means it's not FDA approved. It means that the FDA said, look, I know there's a push to meet the need, so we're going to hurry and give you an EUA, which is Emergency Use Authority, for tests, drugs, and vaccinations to make them available faster. We're going to give you fewer requirements than when you're trying to get full FDA approval, and you won't have to go through all the extensive testing, and this is only done during public health emergencies. So everything we're using hasn't been tweaked to its fullest because there's such a push to get it out there. So we're working with I don't want to say marginal everything, but they haven't been fully vetted through the FDA. Like, that takes years sometimes for even just a medication. So we're pushing things out there, and we're scrambling, going, this is as good as it gets for now. And then one day it's the best ever, the next day, you all have seen it. Hydroxychloroquine, that was the it drug. Now it's like, oh, don't use it. It might cause more death, because we're paving the way as we go, and we're watching other countries. I don't know the last time I ever went to review South Korean news to decide what I'm going to do in Guam, but everybody's looking at everyone else going, what do you got over there? Got anything over here on this? And the whole world is working collaboratively. Except for China and North Korea.
Yeah, that's really interesting, Doc. And I wanted to just kind of ask if it looks like COVID, smells like COVID, walks like COVID, talks like COVID, we treat it like COVID, but we get a test and it's negative. Where does that put us in terms of the public health response? Because we kind of hold so much stock in the test results, and so our whole recovery is tied to the number of positive cases. So if the doctors are treating COVID cases but they're not getting the confirmed positive, I mean, I guess, does it even exist? And then how do we measure that with our recovery going forward?
So okay. So many different layers to that onion you just said. Okay, if it looks like COVID and the test is negative, clinically, what do? We treat it just like COVID. And sometimes we've had 2 or 3, even 4 times negative, but we know it's COVID. We don't know the science behind why they look negative after all that testing, but they are, and we treat it that way. So that's clinically what we do. Moving forward, if you look at the situation report, you will see that we have several categories. Who cares? I mean, no one really understands it unless you're looking for it. But you'll notice in the top, and when we do the case count, it will show confirmed cases. What's that mean? Those are the ones we actually slam dunk the positive. Then you'll see probable cases. Those are the ones you just described. Smells like it, looks like it, tastes like it, so, it is. And so those are the probables. Those are the ones we just can't get that positive, but we go ahead and treat it as such. So clinically, everyone's getting treated that looks like they need to be. Right. We don't wait for the positives. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Even with good tests like TB, you can't wait on that positive. You have to use your common sense and treat what you've got.
But it just doesn't, like, for example, talking to you in just this couple minutes, it doesn't really match up with the information that we're getting out from the Joint Information Center, which is continually 0 positive, 0 positive, 0 positive.
Well, that's a confirmed case. okay, let's break down one of those zero positive. Zero positive, but looked like it, so we treated it, so we put that. We'll jack up the probable and leave if it's not a plus, it's a zero. But if it's a case, we put it under probable and go ahead and treat it. And so it's still counted.
It kind of almost seems like we should just be paying attention to the dashboard and not the Joint Information Center, because it seems like the dashboard is where public health is collating all of their data, and then whatever the Joint Information Center chooses to report is whatever they choose to report.
So how about the Raiders?
Is this situational report? Is this out every day? I just noticed it just now.
And you've got some really good workers on this one. We've got a real team behind this.
Mm-hmm.
That is the gold. The JIC report tries to push information out for the community. Again, more layers to the onion. If I want the nitty gritty, I go to the situation report.
Right.
And they follow, and we've even had arguments over this going, okay, it was positive on this machine and negative on this one. It looks like COVID. We've got to count it as a positive. And the epi team's like, nope, we have to go by CDC criteria, and we can't, because we didn't get a really good solid positive, we're going to put it under probable. And I'm like, but it's a clinical case, because there's a lot of sweat that goes into that report, because you've got the clinical team treating it like a positive, then you've got the epi team going, oh, if it's not a positive, CDC says it must be a plus sign, So that's why we made the category for probable. We called it presumptive early on, because we realized CDC runs behind us by a couple months sometimes, because we saw this category a couple months ago and said, let's make a new category, ones that don't test positive but are. So we made that. And then about a month ago, CDC wouldn't count those officially, but it was on our report. Then they came out and they made their own category, the same, called probable. So that's who's in there. And that's where they just didn't come up with the plus sign. And again, we're at the mercy of the test, which leads me to the Abbott ID Now. Are you going to mention that one?
Yeah, we would definitely want to talk about this Abbott ID Now, but we want to preface it by saying that we had reported on the FDA advisory that had come out, and we had talked to Drs. Cabrera, Dr. Wen about the false positive, the false negatives that came out with the FDA advisory. And so this is kind of recirculating both the national and local media. And so, yeah, Doc, it kind of begs the question, we're using this Abbott ID, and it's clearly showing that they're getting a lot of false negatives. So where does that put us in terms of getting an accurate read on COVID?
Okay. Let me, we use a lot of terms, Gene Expert, ABIs, BD Max, forget it. Let's go to the really good machines and then the quickie machine. Let's just do it that way, because all these names just don't mean much to people. So the Abbott ID Now is a really good machine. It does molecular testing, which is what our really, really good machines do. But our really, really good machines take 45 minutes to 6 hours, depending on which machine and which company you're going with. But we've got several machines on island doing the platforms, is what they call them. So we've got this little quickie test that looks so good. And when it first came out, it first got its EUA, that Emergency Use Authority, in, I think March 27th. And we were really excited. We received 2 of the machines. Now, mind you, we've got the really great machines, but we had this little, it's like a toy next to the rest of our tests, because we send through batches of tests on the big machines. This one does one by one. If you just scratch your head and go into the doc's office and say, hey, I'd like to have this test done, and if your doctor had this on his counter, he would run it one by one. So obviously for DLS and Guam Public Health Lab, where we're running large batches, this is not the ideal machine for us to use. It takes about 3 minutes. I watched it. It takes about 3 minutes for a positive and 15 minutes for a negative. And we have been lucky. I got to tell you, our machines have been 100%, how would I say it? How best to do this? We would take those tests, and because we like circle it and sort of give it the side eye going, oh, it's a new machine. Do we trust it? So we would run it, but then we would confirm it on our really good machines. And ours have been 100%. We're happy with that. If you look we stopped using it April 28th for one reason, not because of all this stuff. We got in a lot of kits for our really, really good machines, so why would we use the 1x1? So that's the only reason. And between the time we started using it and stopped using it at the end of April, we only had run 55 tests on it and 1,430 some on our other platforms, and all 55 matched. And GMH has one too. We gave one of ours to GMH, and our other one is going to go to Northern Clinic. And GMH also, if they get tests that they want reconfirmed on ours, they send them, and most of them have been sent over to us to reconfirm on the really, really good machines, and they've matched too. So we locally haven't run into what other areas have. I can understand it. They haven't been fully vetted, but we've been lucky, and there's no reason ours should work any better. But in April, the stories start trickling out that those machines were missing coronavirus elsewhere. And in May, Yale came out after Loyola University. I've got the notes here. Right. They looked at a study from Loyola where it said they were missing 1 in 4 positive cases. Then a New York University study followed 101 people. And on the really good machine that they use there, that we also have here, 31 cases were picked up, and the Abbott only picked up 15 of those. So those are pretty scary numbers.
Yeah.
So we're lucky to be in Guam. Couple reasons. From a lab standpoint, because we're so small, if a lab manager at one lab gets something sort of funky on her or his machine, they call our lab or they call another lab and say, hey, can we rerun this? And we do it. You won't get that in New York. And we have same-day turnaround on tests. Usually on the mainland, it's 3 to 5 days. So we're really lucky that we have the collaboration we have in Guam, and then the rapid turnaround. But we just tend to do that. I'll bet if you're in New York and you had 50 tests on the Abbott at a hospital, you couldn't just call public health lab and say, hey, can you run these 50 for me? I doubt it.
Right.
But here we do it.
Doc, so just to clarify, we're not using the Abbott ID anymore? Is that what you said? We stopped using that in April?
Well, at the lab we did, because we run too many tests to do one by one.
Yeah.
But Guam Memorial does, and then they'll send it to us for the ones they want to. They send over for verification, confirmation, and we run it on the really, really good machines.
I see.
And we've matched on those. We will be sending ours from the lab since we're not using it. That one's going to go to our Northern Clinic. If we were to get another one of those machines, I would put it through the same amount of matching that we've done for the other two, because I have a feeling maybe the third machine may not work as well as the first two. We've been really lucky, and that's only because we've double-checked every test.
Is the good machine at GRMC?
No. Well, let me take that back. They have one. Okay, I'm going to run down the really good machines. And when I say really good, these are the ones, the gold standards that are recognized under EUA anywhere you go. Where is it?
Are these like the BD Max or the Gene Expert?
At New York University, they're using Gene Expert. Okay. If you just go to our lab, we have the Gene Expert like they have at New York University, and we also have the ADI 7500. They're a molecular PCR test, and those are great. Now, then you've got the BD Max at 2 facilities, GRMC and DLS. So those are the really, really good, super good machines. And we use those as reference. If we question this test, we go to those. So we've got we've got 4 really good machine platforms on island.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that there was just so much confusion with what's going on with the releases that we get. Like last week, I think it was a grandson. He tested positive at GRMC. Then he was moved over to GMH. And then his grandfather was tested, and I think there was another person that was tested, and they were positive, and then they became negative, or somebody became negative, and then they became a probable cause, and I was lost.
But that's all from the JIC, so it kind of seems like what happens to the information when it leaves public health and it gets into the JIC hands?
Actually, the JIC gets the information from the SITREP. and then they do whatever they do, and they crunch a lot of other local information in with it. And the sit rep is actually our major report. It may be a little bulky or cumbersome for most people because you have to almost know what those categories are. And so the JIC tries to make it, JIC is more for public consumption. If you want to get to the nitty gritty numbers, I'd go to the sit rep, which is much, much longer. Go ahead.
Is there, I mean, when you say they do what they do with it, are you saying they spin it or they leave stuff out of it, or?
No, I'm saying that there's a team of people and they're sitting there saying, how best do we get this message from the sit rep to the community? And they take that, they hold that report and they try to match it to theirs. And sometimes the numbers are one off or whatever. So if you can look back at the sit rep and see exactly where the numbers should have been. And I'm not saying the JIC, we don't do the JIC. That's a team of people trying to get information to push it out there to the community on where testing will be and what any recent updates and just the major numbers. And they should match. But it's more broken down on the sit rep for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But by the way, she was right. There are people that have tested positive on one machine and negative on another. And so what do? You go clinically. We count it clinically. We count it as a positive or a probable case. But there's a discrepancy there because with CDC, they would go with the negative on reporting.
Right.
But we just all lump it in the probable cause or probable case.
And I think that's what we're seeing is that you guys, like you said, are treating COVID. You guys are doctors. You know COVID is COVID, even if the test says negative. But then what we're getting on the public consumption end is, it's nothing. It's just all negatives.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we need to go more into the sit rep, the situation report. You're right. Good point.
That one. It's the first, and we're trying to. It's so much information. Yeah. I've heard people say, "I'm not reading all that." Okay, well, so the JIC is to get out bulks of good information to the community because the bulk of it is there. And if you want to really play with the numbers, flip over to the sit rep. That's the gold. That's the one that the CDC people are preparing. We have.
I look at it like the JIC is like a bag of chips, and the sit rep is a full meal.
How about those Raiders? You're killing me.
I know. All right. Well, you're out here.
in the sit rep, it doesn't provide like PUI information.
What is a PUI? What is that?
Is that something?
I mean, I'm sure that's floating around somewhere. When we first started, person under investigation got tested. Now who gets tested? You show up and say, I want that. You're going to get tested. So that everything is changing so much because this virus is new, and everyone's having to redefine everything. You don't go in with a sore throat and become a PUI for sore throat. We've got that. It's just when this came out, we didn't know what categories to put people on, and it was like, and actually too, we're also happy too because we would look at the symptoms on the sheets in the lab when they would come through. When it all started, if you have a fever, cough, and shortness of breath, you're in the house.
Right.
Well, we started noticing by day 2, we saw abdominal pain, muscle aches, headaches, runny nose, congestion. I mean, like everything under the sun. We said, let's put it all on the sheet and check anybody who comes in with anything. And that's how we did it. And then we noticed early on this loss of taste and loss of smell, the sense of taste and smell. We saw that early on the sheets. We said, let's expand it. Let's do that. We did that 2 months ago. And then CDC comes out like a month later or 2 months later and says, we've added these symptoms. We're like, old news. We have, we got to blaze a trail and we're small. So it's not often that you have the medical director and the territorial epidemiologist sitting with lab sheets looking at people's symptoms. Where on earth does that happen? Right. But it's small, and everybody got drafted to new positions to mount the response, and so that's where I ended up. And I'm so glad because it really, I don't know how it would have been handled other places. Did they just now add all those symptoms that we added 2 months ago?
Right.
We've it's been a challenge, but geez, has it really been a medical? It's been fun. It really has. I'll never see this again, I hope.
Right. It'd be more fun if you got your COVID pay, though, I bet.
That's, yeah. Instead of short change, long change.
Doc,
yeah, that would sweeten the pot.
That's a good one. Can we just talk about wrapping here? You guys are doing a bunch of testing this week.
Yes. This week and next week both, they're expanding testing. They're looking at GURA, public and elderly housing, temporary workforce housing, like maybe H2 workers, maybe other employees at facilities. Any area of concern, if there's a little cluster we think we need to penetrate. Homeless, we've got homeless that are sheltered, and we have about 300 homeless that aren't sheltered. And that's through, and we're hoping to bust those in and get them down to FESPAC and get them checked. We want to go back and sweep up all the contacts of prior cases.
Right. Oh, Doc, sorry. The grandfather, the grandson, there was something in there that said that they were part of a larger cluster. Do you know what cluster that was?
I really don't.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Well, people use the word cluster a little bit liberally.
Right.
But I don't consider it a cluster if everyone in the house has it. That's what you expect.
Correct.
A cluster is when, if you had several in a area of a village.
Right.
And,
or like with the Iglesia de Cristo thing or the bingo thing.
Right. Yes, you got it.
Okay.
Real quickly, the SITREP, is it updated at the same time the dashboard is, which is between 12 and 1 every day?
I'm not sure. It's when she does it, I think usually in the morning, sometimes in the evenings, just when she has enough data to do it. It's done. Sometimes the testing is running a little bit behind because they didn't filter into the lab soon enough, but it comes out daily.
Okay.
Right.
But with information from the day before.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. It runs a little bit behind like that.
But
yeah.
it is. We're looking at it. There's just a lot of data there, and it's way more data than you see with the Joint Information Center releases.
Which is why that's exactly, it's posted on the website, but it's so much that you have to really have receptors for all of this. It's interesting if you sit down and really look through it.
It is, because I feel like with the JIC releases, the story isn't just zero positives. That's all we're getting. But when you look at this, there's a more complete picture.
Right, exactly. And sometimes, too, we'll hold on probable cases till the next day if we want to test it on one more machine before we really call it. So it scoops up everything from 1 to 2 days prior.
Right.
The SITREP is if you want the Bible, it's a SITREP. If you want to read verses, go to the JIC, because they try to take it out of the JIC report and maybe the numbers get a little off once in a while, and because that's pointed out. But now, instead of trying to explain the number, now that we release the SITREP, we just refer them to the SITREP because that's the goal.
Right. Yeah, and we're going to promote that too. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you.
I'm finished. I just have about another half an hour.
Okay. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can if you want. I just got to use the bathroom. TMI. Sorry.
How about those Raiders?
How about them? Yeah. Well, I hope you still got a
stadium's
job.
Not yet finished yet.
Bree knows about some Raiders because her parents are over in Vegas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I got to get you off the line, though, because you said Raiders like 4 times, and this is a Niners company. Okay, bye.
I'll have to remember that.
Wash your hands.
Take care.
Okay.
Take care. Thanks again.
Okay.
All right.
You can find that SITREP, which stands for Situation Report.
I like Dr. Maglotnia.
I do, too. Man, we got to get her paid.
Yeah, we got to get her
everybody paid.
All you guys got to get paid. Interesting, because you're right. I mean, I'm almost frustrated by the information that comes out of the Joint Information Center. I mean, they put a bill on a JIC release yesterday, which is extremely partisan and political. And that's what Dr. Maglotnia didn't want to come out and say, is that the problem with these JIC releases is they're spinning it. They're taking the info from public health and they're like, what can we put here? No, let's not put the probable. Let's just put the zero positive. We'll run with that. Throw a bill on there, and hey, shout out the governor's Facebook page. So, hey, we got to take a break, and we'll come back with more KUAM News Takeover containing COVID, Guam's favorite. Good morning.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD. Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Good morning. Right on. So, hey, that website again is dphss.guam.gov. Yeah, you can check the dashboard there. I like what Dr. Magdalena said. If you want verses, get the jig. If you want to dive into the Bible, go to the public health website for the full picture. 7:57. Good morning. A little bit of huddle from Live Local Fridays. Guam's favorite, containing COVID. Let's go back to the phones where Vice Speaker Talina Nelson is on. Good morning, Vice Speaker.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Bree. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
We're doing pretty good. How about you? Obviously, there's been a lot of rapidly evolving evolutions that have taken place since the last time we spoke.
Yeah, I think it took a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think it was so rapid, but we're trying to. We've been trying to figure out a way to meet the AG's interpretation of the law and to see how we could move forward with this double pay in its entirety, which our frontliners justly deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the peak of this pandemic, this state of emergency, we've asked these people to come and to help protect our lives and serve our community. And so since the beginning, we wrote a letter to implore the governor to ensure that these employees that are out there on the front lines, that are going into work, exposing themselves and exposing their families as well, that they be justly compensated. And so hopefully, this measure that Bill 357 introduces, that we introduced, proposes a way to give our frontliners, everyone, that responded, from GDOE, grab-and-go meals, to our nurses, and even the employees that worked in various government agencies that were called in, even though their agency was closed, and those whose agencies were opened and were required to come to work and risk exposure, that they be justly compensated to the full extent, to the extent that they justly deserve, which was every day that they came in and worked.
Mm-hmm.
We did try to pursue an avenue of compensatory time with double pay, but the reason why we did not move forward with that is because we were the people that were reaching out to us were saying that we work so many hours a year, and even the CTO that we make, we're not even able to utilize all of it because we're coming in six days a week or 7 days a week. And so we're trying to do this measure as an avenue to ensure that they get paid. And so these people, our frontliners, received hazardous pay. And so we were thinking, well, if all of these people received hazardous pay with the same mechanism, why not ensure that they receive their double pay with that mechanism that the hazardous pay was put out? So that's what we tried. That's what we intended to do, and with this bill, this is what we pushed forward. I don't understand anything less. Why would we give them some kind of half deal? I don't think it's a fair compensation. We call them heroes, but we don't treat them like that. We think that boosting their ego by calling them heroes makes them feel, essentially that's what they are, but we're not showing it with our actions. And so this is our Bill 357 is a bill to justly do that, to show them that, no, we do believe you are heroes, and we want to show it with our actions.
So basically, Bill 357 is just cut and dry, just pay double time?
That's correct.
Okay.
Vice, hold on, let me interrupt here. Hey, good morning. We're KUAM FM, Agutni, Guam. It's 8 o'clock. Again, thank you for joining us on KUAM TV 11. This is the live feed of KUAM News' Takeover, Guam's favorite, containing COVID. On the line right now, Vice Speaker Talina Nelson, who's telling us about her Bill 357, which would pay double pay to essential frontliners.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's correct.
Have you had a chance, though, to look at Bill 359, or did anyone reach out to you, to the Speaker, or any of the other senators that were at this press conference yesterday?
I did have a chance to look at Bill 359, and,
I'm sorry, prior to the announcement, prior to the press conference? Okay.
Yes, the Speaker did inform us, and I responded to her Chief of Staff saying, this is not, I can't sign on to this. This will negate all the work that we tried to do to ensure that these people are paid fairly. And it's not something that I believe in, and I couldn't, I didn't want to move forward with it.
So your Vice, your measure came first?
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, it's 357, 359.
We've been working on this measure since last week, and so it evolved to several different forms. We worked on I was trying to ask my colleagues to override Bill 326, but that was very, very difficult. I did get commitment from some of them, but then it just seemed like I was being stalled.
What were they saying, though, Senator Vice?
No, that they support the bill, but they support the bill, and they feel that they deserve the double pay. Senator Joseph Augustine was very, supportive of me, and he supports the double pay. Some of my other colleagues were a little bit reluctant, and so, I tried to find a compromise, and I was talking it over with my team, and I was reaching out to people and some of our nurses, and they're like, we make more CTO than we can utilize, even the law enforcement personnel. And, we even thought, well, why don't we extend the CTO for the end of for the next fiscal year? Because if you don't use your CTO for that fiscal year, then you lose it.
Right.
And so we thought of an extension for the next fiscal year. And then they're like, well, we're working the same amount of hours the next year. And so we're like, okay, let's just try, looking at how everyone received their hazardous pay. Let's just try to do a mechanism in place to ensure that these people that receive their hazardous pay also get the double time pay, because the people that received hazardous pay are the people that evidently showed up for work. Mm-hmm. And so that's the route we took. And, I was trying to ask, a select few of my colleagues if they'd like to sign on, and they were reluctant to sign on, so I went ahead and submitted it on my own. Mm-hmm. But even in all fairness, right, everything is about timing, and so I was trying to get it in at a certain time and trying to explain what the bill is, and
so you're basically, we have the Speaker's bill, which is being championed by the administration. I mean, they even put it on the Joint Information Center release. That's weird. They've tacked that onto there. So, I mean, Vice, but your bill, it's not. So the Speaker's bill, it's something like half annual leave.
But it's capped, right?
They can cash
the annual
out.
Leave is
capped.
Right.
Yeah. So you get 240 hours, right, of CTO. And if you would like the option to cash in half, you can cash in 120 hours. This is from my understanding with the bill. And so some people even work over 240 hours perhaps a year. And so they're capping it at 240 hours, and if you want, you can cash in half. What we've been saying is, since the beginning this started, was, no, please ensure that they get the double time pay. The challenging part was we didn't anticipate this state of emergency to continue on for this long.
Right.
And so the concern was, well, you know, when Bill 326, which covered the hazardous pay and requested the double time pay, was vetoed, there were various arguments that were, that entirely we didn't agree upon, and then the AG opined on the issue, and so we were thinking, okay, what's another way to approach this? Do we amend 8.406? And we're thinking, no, we don't want to do that because that's a current statute, and we could impact our FEMA request for support. And so we said, okay, let's just try a different measure. And so we kind of just took a step back and observed what was going on. And I said, you guys, they're paying them hazardous pay, and I'm thinking with the same executive order, requirements. So let's just institute that in the bill, and let's move forward and see how that measure goes. Now, we're getting a lot of money in the CARES Act. And so, the state of Hawaii is also moving forward with the legislation to, kind of ensure that the CARES Act money is spent properly. And so there are various, last week we had a briefing by the executive branch on certain monies and where they're going. And so we're, just by basic calculations, it seems like there's a lot of money out there to be had. And, let's do what's right rather than, let's utilize this money to pay our heroes what they justly deserve, the sacrifices they've made, the risk that they've made, even
pay
the
them
risk that they
in money,
even for their family.
In money, right, Vice? That's what you're saying.
Well, in compensation in money, yes.
Right, yeah.
I had a
In
question.
pay.
Mhm. But in your bill,
But I don't want it to be like a greed-mongering thing, Like, I don't want this to turn ugly, because anything that deals with money, many times it turns very ugly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want us to be cautious of that. I don't want it for us to, in a way, devalue the work that they've done by fighting about money. But I also want to advocate that they deserve this pay.
It is what it is, Vice. They deserve it. We pay people in money.
Yeah. In Bill 357, though, there's that provision for use of CARES Act funding to pay out the double pay. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, we put may use CARES Act money because in previous weeks we've heard from various leaders that you can't tell us how to use the CARES Act
You
money,
would be
right?
overstepping your legislative authority.
When you say various leaders, you mean the governor of Guam had in her veto message. It said that it was an overreach for the legislature to tell her how to spend the CARES Act money.
Yeah. That was in the veto of Bill 333.
Right. So we put the recommendation as may use because we acknowledge that there's millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars being utilized in that program Salapi thing that they were doing.
Programan Salapi Zudani Tautau.
Yeah, thank you. That's like $20 million, right? But we've only seen like $7 million used. And then I believe Edward Byrne came on the line saying that, well, if you do double pay, it's $3 million per pay period. So I'm thinking, okay, let's say we do 7 pay periods. So 7 times 3 million is about $21 million. $21 million. So I'm like, I think there's $21 million to pay these people. And if we go break down the budget of the CARES Act, it shows that there's various things being utilized. Like in the U.S. Department of Treasury for the administration, there's payroll expenses listed at $29.152 million. And so I'm like, oh, maybe they can utilize some of that money.
I mean, Vice,
because we already appropriated this money to pay people their salaries.
Right.
Right, and so this money already that from the general fund is already spoken for. So there's several places that I would pull, but I wouldn't tell the governor how to do that. I would just recommend it.
What do you think she has the authority to just pay the double pay with the CARES Act, just straight away, no, legislation, no nothing?
She does. If she did it with the hazardous pay, she didn't need any legislation for that. So why wouldn't she be able to do it with the double pay?
Do you think this is a stalling tactic or anything? Because if you're right, if the governor has the authority to do it already, why do we need to jump through all these hoops and then kick this down to the legislature where, you got 15 different people with 15 different opinions? And
well, it's always I've observed that this term it's always the legislature that tries to present avenues first, and then there's like a pulse taken on the community, and if that pulse in the community, whether it's right or wrong, and then it's discerned, it seems like either we get the backing of the administration or we don't.
Or they steal your idea. It's actually it's like you guys come out with an idea, like you came out with a double pay, and then everybody on the island was talking about the double pay because it is what it is. If you're a frontline essential employee and you've worked a previous emergency, and it doesn't matter if it's a typhoon or a pandemic or the COVID or the, an emergency is emergency. But if you worked an emergency prior to this, you got the double pay. And people aren't stupid. They know that going into this pandemic public health emergency that they're going to get the double pay. They're thinking in their mind, okay, I'm going to be getting the double pay. And then there's a bait and switch where it's like, no double pay. Instead, we're going to give this differential pay, which is 25%. Cue the ensuing public outcry and public outrage. And then all of a sudden, the governor does a complete 180 and goes from, we can't afford it. That's why we have the differential pay. That's why we have her answer was consistent. And then now she's done the 180. And now that it seems like, no-brainer, of course, public employees who are frontline essential know they're supposed to be getting the double pay. So maybe giving it to them would probably be a good political move. Now it's like they saw the writing on the wall and they're like, okay, we're in line now.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to say.
I got you.
Session is scheduled for next week, Tuesday?
Yes, but there's these two bills, and I would really push for us to have a public hearing, so that we have people on record for these bills, because who knows, maybe the people are okay with 240 hours, compensatory time and half pay. It seemed like GFT was on board with it, and I was kind of confused how they reached that agreement without a consensus. I mean, they're a union, so maybe they can make those kinds of decisions. But, the reason why we went into emergency session so much is because we didn't have an avenue for public hearings. We didn't have a forum or a media because of the social distancing rule or because of the shelter in place. But now we do. So let's hear what the people think instead of trying to push bills, that are not in, that haven't been heard. And that was just a reason also for when we went into Override Bill 333 is, it was an understanding that, now that we have an avenue forward to hear the people and hear their concerns, let's properly vet our bills now. There's no reason that we're going to push for emergency session to try to give people, and especially when there's two ideas, maybe we can merge these two ideas into one. And maybe that would satisfy the people.
Is this going to be an emergency session? It just says senators will be called into session.
We do have session next week, but I'm just caution. I just want to caution all of us ahead of time before it's even thought that we should go into emergency session over this and not hear the people's voice.
Are you hearing?
I'm just thinking that when you want to move something, in my short time here in office, when you want to move something, the quicker you act, the quicker you get it moved, and then, it's kind of like, oh, what just happened? It's almost
oh, what just happened? Festback. Okay.
So I'm just, I'm like, this is a lot of money. This concerns a lot of people who have risked their lives So we need to really be cautious about how we move forward, or if not, we might not just be doing the right thing the right way. And so the right thing the right way would be us hearing both bills in a public setting so that it can be documented and recorded, and also help all of us in the legislature to be able to discern, what would be best for the people, and also the people's money, or the utilization of the CARES Act.
Well, Vice,
especially as we approach budget.
Right. We wanted to bring you on, and it's going to be a battle because obviously you've got Adelup and the speaker in one corner with their bill that is being pushed by Adelup, and you can already assume that they're calling any senators down there your colleagues.
Right, but this is not just the speaker's bill.
Right.
There's Will
There's a few,
Castro.
right? Yeah,
there's Senator Mary Torres
yeah.
and Pito Terlahi.
So are you gonna make the call again to your colleagues, Vice, and say, hey, does anybody want to jump on my bill?
Well, usually we add the co-sponsorship on session floor, or we substitute the bill on the floor. I cannot withdraw the bill and add their names now.
I see.
Yeah. So I hope that it's important also for all of us to hear what the public feels, so our colleagues can make an informed decision. My colleagues can make an informed decision. Even I can make an informed decision. We don't need emergency session for this.
Have you ran this by GFT?
I'm sorry?
Have you ran this by GFT yet?
Well, I was kind of surprised that GFT was at the press conference. And so, I'm going to reach out today and see what they think. And I did write a request to expedite the referral of Bill 357 and Bill 358 so that we can have a public hearing. I hope that we don't try to move any bills during session floor without a public hearing, because now we have a forum for the people's voice to be heard. And if we go against, the foundation of this organization and this institution by trying to push things forward and ramrod it, now that we have a forum to hear the people's voice, we should move forward with the people's voice.
Okay.
We had those emergency sessions because we needed to find routes and avenues to help the people. And the emergency session, there was no forum for us to, or platform for the people's voice to be heard during the shelter in place.
Right.
But now that's over and done with.
Okay,
we
Vice.
should be having these hearings. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to all our frontliners.
Yeah, keep us posted on what happens, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Vice?
Right. Take care. God bless
Wash
you
your
guys.
hands.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
bye-bye.
you. Okay. 818, Vice Speaker Talina Nelson. Let's keep it on the phones. A few minutes here with Revenue Tax Director Daphne Shimizu. We talk about the reopenings, a few bumps in the road yesterday. Daphne, have we ironed out those kinks up at Barragata Heights and again Shopping Center?
Hi, good morning, Chris and Sabrina, and good
morning.
Lauren.
Good morning.
So yes, yesterday was quite busy, and of course, at least in the first couple of hours, we did have some challenges in terms of our lines. Probably around 10 o'clock, we were working, of course, all through the morning with our National Guard and our Guam Police Department. So we were able to get the lines kind of in order, and actually probably by around like a little early afternoon when I went outside, because I had been, walking the lines outside our office, that really we actually had no line by the time probably was like early to mid-afternoon. So, we do have lines this morning again. If you don't mind, can I just share a few things that we have made some changes to? Because, I guess based on, discussions with GPD and the National Guard and after our initial assessment yesterday afternoon. So today we're strictly enforcing kind of a one-way traffic into and out of our building. So you can only come into our building through our front entrance, and you're going to exit on the Conwood side and the back side of our building, kind of closer to Foremost, or as you're heading to Catholic Social Services. So the traffic coming into our building is just that one way. Mm-hmm. And of course we have the National Guard, and I want to just say thank you to Chief Ignacio and of course to Major General Agdi for their support and for the support of their team. They were here yesterday. They were here very early this morning. They're directing traffic out here to make sure that people are safe and that the traffic flows smoothly. We do have a bit of a backup in terms of traffic here, so I know people who are heading toward the mall, if you're coming from Barragata, it is a little bit backed up, but we're doing our best. The right lane, has been or is being utilized, of course, for the people that are coming into our building. But again, we're trying to get people, trying to make sure that it's as orderly as possible, and of course, we have GPD and our National Guard out there along with our team. So that's something that, yesterday we did work to try to get, strictly enforce that, but it was a little bit difficult. So today we made sure that we set up things so that happened. And the other thing that we've done this morning so that our team has the opportunity to set up and make sure that we have our cones set up and all of the lines running out, and was that we didn't open up our parking lot until 7 in the morning. So we do open at 8, and so 7 in the morning was when we began to allow people to come into our parking lot. And that had happened. Just again, it's so that we can make sure that we're set up internally. We've actually had people here probably since 6 in the morning. Again, drawing out the lines and putting up the cones.
I saw people bush cutting this morning.
Well, that was probably, I'll share with you, when Mayor June Blas was having the canopies put up, also she had her team bush cutting a little bit as well. So, I do need to also say thank you. One, I always want to thank the media. Without you guys getting our information out, and of course, we have limited budget, so we don't have a whole huge budget to be able to do these things. Without you guys putting out the word, we wouldn't be able to get the message out to our community. Our mayors have been so great. Mayor Blas made sure that she gave us some canopies, and then, we had this little grass area growing, and she made sure that her team, cleaned that up. So we also had the Mayor of Agana Heights, Mayor McDonald, and Mayor Ngakta. They had given us canopies as well. And, because when we were doing some dry runs in the last week and we were walking outside the building, it was extremely hot. And it was like, it's unimaginable to allow our people to be standing outside, in the hot sun. So, we made sure that there are canopies there. But today, definitely the lines are much better. We do have a lot of people in our lines. I just finished walking the line and, making sure that, that everything was going okay. We do have signage up that, of course, indicates that we have 8 to 9:30 is dedicated to our Menumco, our individuals with disabilities, and also our military veterans. And, our team, it was very important to our team to make sure that we dedicated some time to our Menumco and to our people with disabilities and, of course, our veterans, recognizing that, we want to make sure that, there is the potential for a second surge, and to have the opportunity to kind of isolate that population so that they're not, exposed to just the general public as, as we would be throughout the day. So that was very critical for us. But we're doing our best to keep things as orderly as possible. Yes,
sorry, just a couple things. We had a guy call in and was asking why the left turn traffic light is blocked off, and he was saying that there are other businesses in there besides the Reventax that people need to go to. And then on the other side of, we're getting a lot of comments about people not answering the phones at Reventax. Are you guys just overloaded? Can you give us info on those 2 points?
Sure. So, one on the traffic flow, again, our team was talking with the National Guard, and that's something I'll go ahead and make sure we relay as well. And absolutely, because we do know, I was on the Board of Catholic Social Services for many years, so I know we have Foremost Catholic Social Services, Conwit, and other companies behind us. And also, of course, we have our seniors that live back there. So, of course, to the extent possible, we don't want to impede, those people's businesses, and we'll make sure we address that if it hasn't already been addressed. That's one. And the issue of phone calls, we are doing our best to answer the calls as we can. Of course, we suggest that people do email us if possible. And the other thing that now that our agency is again, we're open up, based on PCOR 2 standards, which is, no more than 50% occupancy is what the standard is we do have people in our branches. So, we're trying as much as possible to have our branches be the ones to assist our customer calling center, so that way we're able to answer questions and answer people's calls. We know that, of course, when we issued out, the 50,000 checks in the last week, we were getting a lot of calls. We're doing our best to get through them. It is challenging. but we're just going to do our best, and we promise you that that's what's happening right now.
What is the main transaction that people are conducting right now?
A lot of, I actually just walked the line, and both today and yesterday, a lot of what we're seeing is vehicle registration. And, our team actually is walking the line, making sure people know that they can do registration renewals online. They're also walking the line and passing out forms and making sure people are here for vehicle registration. I actually yesterday was able to assist a few people. I had one, senior citizen woman who, she was in line for a while, and she asked me, I think her question was, ma'am, do I need to get in line to do a safety inspection? And she was standing in line for a bit, and I said, no, ma'am. So as soon as I told her that, she has actually left. So, we're trying to, we're going through the line and surveying people, making sure that they're aware of our hours, making sure that they're aware of our services, making sure that they know that they could do things online, and passing out forms. And, of course, to the extent possible, we're doing our best to, to remind people that there are things that can be done online. And I'll share with you, even for those individuals, if you may try to get online and try to register online and you run into an issue, we're doing our best to get back to people, but we have been pushing out, so the registration online system requires that, of course, your registration, your safety inspection information, and your insurance, your car insurance information are uploaded in our system. As long as those are in the system, you will be able to renew your vehicle registration online. Yeah. For those individuals that have been able to do that, we've actually, like in the other day, we had several hundred that we had mailed out the tags for. So, when you renew online, and I recommend highly that people do renew online, you get an actual PDF version of your registration immediately, and then we send your tags in the mail. So, those are things, again, we recommend. And if you run into problems, I know I've tried the system myself, so I understand the system. But if you run into any issues, if you can email us, again, we have a contact us section on our website. You can email us there, and we do our best to get back to people as soon as we can.
Daph, I had a question. I got a call yesterday about the stimulus and people who are on the Social Security who don't file their taxes. Can you tell us how those people, because there's a lot of people on Social Security, what's the process for them getting the stimulus checks, and is there anything that they need to do or that you guys need to do to get those checks into their hands faster?
That is a great question, and thank you. Of course, our people who are on Social Security and veterans disability, those individuals who have those, who have that benefit, if they file already because they have income or they file as joint and they have to report income, those individuals will already be in our system. We did indicate in our FAQ that there would be a need for a Form EIP-NS to be filed for those individuals, not just Social Security recipients or Veterans Disability recipients, but people who fell below the threshold. I know in the last week, over the weekend, the Social Security Administration did provide some information on, the Social Security recipients being able to receive or receiving EIP payments. I'm actually in communication with the IRS on that issue because we want to make sure that we provide the information. And I will just share with you, of course, with regards to this program in general, not just on Guam, but across the nation, there have been so many things that have been changing as we kind of have gone along the way. There were things that were added, that that the IRS had not contemplated that they've had to adjust for as we have gone through the process. So, this one issue, and we thank our Social Security recipients for their patience. I know that's something that our team, we actually have a meeting with our IRS counterparts in this morning, so which is why I'm going to have to get off very soon, but those are things we're working to clarify. Again, we're trying to get out the best information that we can, and of course, as soon as we can get it, the Social Security recipient information that came out of the Social Security website, and this over the weekend regarding Guam and the other territories, that was actually something that, I had also shared with our IRS counterparts, and we're going to be discussing that with them so that we can make sure we resolve and we give the right information to our people.
There's something that I've been seeing online, and it's been people have been posting pictures of stimulus checks that they received, but they weren't their checks because it was placed in the wrong mailbox. And then we have a question here that says, if a person didn't receive their check in the mail and supposedly was returned to sender, what can the person do about a returned check?
Oh, so if people, so we recommend it, and again, our team has been letting people know that, of course, we had just started mailing, or Treasurer of Guam had just started mailing or mailed the checks in the last week, so give it a little bit of time. If they don't receive their checks for whatever reason, if they think maybe that, the address they may have used, or they know for sure that they have, moved to another post office box and the address that perhaps was used in the system may not be correct, then they can always call us or email our Guam EIP at revtax.guam.gov. We've been doing our best to get back to them, and we're working on that. We're also working on a system. The IRS has a portal called Get My Payment.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, so, and as you know, so I'm a real big kind of I really big on technology and trying to utilize technology to help us to be more efficient. And so, over the last several weeks, we have not only been working on the Form EIP-NF to be filed online, which we released over the weekend, we've also been working on testing a system similar to the Get My Payment portal. We're kind of in the last phases of reviewing and making sure that it's working properly, of course, making sure that we have safeguards in place to prevent people from logging in, and there, of course, there's identity theft and other issues we have to address. So, that has been in the works where it's actually already almost ready to deploy, and that's something that I'm personally, and I know our team, our customer service team, is looking forward to. So then people will be able to get online, register, and just check the status of their payment without having to call us. And so, that's something that we'll be working to launch within the next few weeks. We've been working on for several weeks with our IT vendor and internally with our staff to make sure that it works. But as we're working on all these other things, getting the payments out and also getting, reconciliations done with IRS and, still communicating with the IRS on issues and trying to reopen, we are still working to try to figure out how we can enhance our system so we can help our people and make things a lot easier for them. And again, so they don't have to rely on a call, where there are things like that can happen. So that's something that we're working on, Sabrina, and thank you for asking. We've been, again, we're always thinking about, for me, I'm always thinking about how we can be better, how we can provide service better. Our team has been so great in support and, kind of coming up with ideas. And this is something that we even began to talk about even before the IRS launched their web portal. It's just that it's taken a little bit of time, for us to make sure we review. It's something kind of new, and it's something, again, that we're hoping to launch within the next couple weeks.
Well, that's actually pretty cool because, I had a conversation with my brother over the weekend, and he lives in Vegas, and, we were talking about, hey, did you get your stimulus? And he was like, no, or I didn't. And he said he did, and he was just waiting for my parents, and he went to the IRS website on the Get My Payment, and all you do is you put in your social, your birthday, and your address, and it tells you, the status of where your payment is. So that's really cool.
Yeah, so that's, we may not exactly mimic exactly the process, but we're definitely going to have a system like that. And it's already like, I would like to say we're over 90% ready. We're just, again, in the testing phase, but I'm excited to launch that. I'm excited every time we're able to utilize technology to help our people and to help not just our people internally, but to help our people in our community. So it's easier for them to get information. So we've been talking about that. I'm glad that you mentioned that because my brother also who lives in Las Vegas, those are things that, I've been talking with our family about having to figure out how that things are working stateside. And again, we're trying to look to the IRS on what they do. And it's kind of like trying to benchmark or, look at best practices. And so if you'll notice, like even our EIP-NF form is actually it's simulating really what the IRS has done on their website. They have a system of filing the form EIP-NF, or it's not, they're not calling it that. We're calling it that, but it's their non-filer form. So we're working to look at what they do, and we're trying as much as possible to kind of imitate that on the local side, and again, always looking to try to figure out how we can be better and how we can, improve our process.
All right. Real quickly, Dropbox still available at DRT?
Absolutely. Our Dropbox is still available, but can I share a little bit about our lines before I get off the line? We have three entrances or three main. So usually we have just a single entrance into our building. What we've done is we've actually separated. We have three areas where you can, enter or do a filing in our building. Now, at the far left of our building, which is closest to KUAM, the Conwood side, that area, we have a door there where people can come and they can file. It's file only for income taxes, but it's I'm calling it like a single transaction line. If you're only filing income taxes, not paying, you can go to that line, and we're trying to fast track, of course, the receipt of the income tax forms so that we can continue to process for EIP. In the middle of our building, where our main entrance is, that double door that's glass under the kind of the awning, that door is for vehicle registration, real property taxes, Treasurer of Guam. Also, we have passports. And then there are some branches that have that are by appointment only that also are that entrance. And then to the far right of our building, which is closest to the Barragata Post Office or where the mobile gas station or subway is, that side of our building, we actually have a double door at the far right corner when you're facing our building, and that's for the entrance for our income tax, our business privilege tax, our GRT, and our collections branch. So we've tried to make it so that we're able to manage the flow in our building better, and we're also so we're doing it kind of by section, and I think that yesterday it showed as we kind of got through the day, it was very successful, and today again, we're going to continue to do that. Of course, we recognize that coming into this, it's not a perfect system, and we're trying to adjust as we need to so that we can improve. And we thank you guys for your questions, and for the public as well for their comments. So, every day, at the end of the day, like yesterday, we met so that we can work to evaluate and do an assessment of where things are and how we might need to adjust so that we can continue to service our people better. And we're going to continue to do that.
Okay.
Thank you, Daphne.
All right. Well, thank you, Sabrina, and thank you, Chris. Again, I'm sorry I have to get off the line because I'm having some meetings, but I want to thank you again for taking the time. And I thank our people. We're going to continue to try to get the information out, so that way everybody knows what's happening. But, again, thank you to our people for being patient, and thank you for all of, our partners, our mayors, and all the other agencies who have been very, very supportive of us. And have a great day, Sabrina.
You too.
Have a great
You
day,
too.
Chris. Okay,
Thank
bye.
you, Daphne. You too. Wash your hands.
Bye.
All right. Love Daphne.
I
Awesome.
know.
She, in messaging her to get her on the show, she was just like, man, I just have a few minutes. And I'm like, yeah, just get a few minutes. Come on and do your
She
thing.
gets a lot of information
20 minutes
out,
later.
man.
Daphne, I would say, and I think everybody in our chat room right now is a rock star. She gave all of that information. You could tell, she wasn't like thumbing through some manual or going through some SOP on or downloading some PDF and everything like that. All of the stuff, the double doors, the flow of traffic, hours of operation, all that stuff, all off the top of her head. And
From the
Even the I just got to say that
From the
whole
dome.
Get My Payment, how they're going to be implementing that in a couple of weeks. It really is actually really cool. Do you know about the Get My Payment?
Yeah,
on the IRS
it's
portal?
really, really cool.
Yeah, so because my brother's like, why don't you go on the IRS website and check it out? I'm like, no, I can't.
Okay, can I just ask you, because I'm kind of keeping tally. Who do you think has said, as you just said, Chris, I've only got a few minutes. I just want to pop on your show. I want to come on Containing COVID, say a few things, and then I'm out because I got a busy rest of the day. Between Dr. Ho Nguyen, Daphne Shimizu, or Mary Rhodes, each of them has
Mary
Rhodes 35-minute plus interviews.
Mary Rhodes' few minutes is like half an hour.
Yeah.
It's a show unto itself, but it's good
Right,
stuff.
Yeah, and that's what I like about them. They know their,
Yeah.
they know their stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Important, so key.
Mhm.
I almost feel like we need to, when we reach a point where everything with rev and tax is covered and up and running, maybe we need to detail Daphne over to the Department of Labor.
Or Department of Administration, so
And
we
help-
could get some information. Because that's the thing with the
Yeah.
programmen Sloppy Izuden Itatau.
Uh-huh.
That's
The vice
by
speaker really
DOA.
liked it when you said that, by the way.
Okay. Yeah.
Pronunciation was on point.
Okay, but that's run by the Department of Administration, so we're still,
Right.
people want to know about that program
Yeah.
just as much as they want to know about the EIP.
But I did want to point something out because a couple people were asking because Rev and Tax does so many services,
Right,
and you said,
they
you
do.
walk in there.
They're
and they've
like
got,
a public health. Public health does so many
Yeah,
services.
they've got all of these different they've got all these different branches and departments and divisions, and a couple of people were asking, if they have. Some people were saying, how do I register my driver's license? My car's registration is expired. But a couple people were asking, what do I have to do if I have a handicap placard and I need to get it renewed? And that's very, very important to people who have or people with disabilities and everything like that. So we're going to follow up with you for that. I'm going to put that in the comments when we figure out exactly what's the procedure to do that and where you go and who you have to call.
All right. Hey, it's 8:40. Let's do a dive into the day's COVID-19 headlines here on Containing COVID. Again, the show, it's a multimedia broadcast extravaganza. It's all proudly brought to you by Ambrose Inc., Coast 360, IT&E, Calvo Enterprises, and the Bank of Guam with the day's COVID-19 headlines from the KUAM News team. Good morning, Sabrina Salas-Mantanani.
Hafaday, good morning, everyone. Only 30 individuals were tested by public health on Monday. 0 tested positive. The number of confirmed COVID-19 cases on Guam remains at 154 with 5 deaths and 126 recoveries. Revenue Tax has processed and released over 50,000 economic impact payments, totaling $95.9 million in the last week. Revenue Tax is expected to process an additional payments this week. For more information on the EIP, you can go to www.guamtax.com. As well, their call center numbers are 635-1840, 41, 42, and 57. DRT recommends emailing any questions regarding the EIP program to guameip@revtax.guam.gov. Meanwhile, to say there was pent-up demand for revenue and taxation services Monday may be a huge understatement. The lines were long at DRT's main office in Barrigada. Police and the National Guard were called in to direct traffic and provide security. And early on, it appears many were not following social distancing guidelines. By yesterday afternoon, though, the lines had pretty much dissipated. For now, DRT services are limited and are split between the main office in Barrigada and the satellite office in the Agana Shopping Center. There are also special service hours for Manumco and the disabled. Check the DRT website for a list of what services are available and where. The governor expects to receive draft public health guidance for her consideration on the 21st. After this guidance has been reviewed and approved, the goal is to permit the opening of restaurants for dine-in services by Monday, May 25th. The governor's office, in the meantime, reminds everyone that restrictions will be relaxed based on available case data and other factors. While we work to meet this goal, dates are fluid and may be revised. Speaker Tina Mooney-Barnes introduced Bill 359, aimed at addressing the controversy over double pay. The legislation would compensate classified workers called to work during the COVID-19 pandemic. Bill 359 was in partnership with the GFD, Senators Pito Terlahi, Clint Rigel, Will Castro, and Senator Mary Torres. Under the measure, any classified employee that worked during the emergency period of March 20th through May 10th will be entitled to 1 hour of additional annual leave for every hour worked, not to exceed 240 hours of annual leave, provided that the classified employee was required to physically report to work during the emergency period and did not receive any additional compensation, administrative leave, or compensatory time off aside from what was provided in the executive order or any applicable hazardous night or overtime differential pay. In addition, up to 120 hours of the COVID-19 Heroes annual leave pay may be paid in lump sum compensation at the request of the employee before October 1st. The governor, during a press conference on Monday, expressed her support for the legislation. Meanwhile, Vice Speaker Talina Nelson also introduced Bill 357 to address double pay to essential workers. Senator James Moylan is requesting an opinion from the Attorney General and Public Auditor on public law which prohibits bonus pay for unclassified employees. The Republican senator is seeking clarification as to whether the prohibition applies to the payment of the governor's COVID-19 differential pay, which he believes is considered as bonus pay. Quote, I believe it is vital to attain an interpretation from both of your offices, as the question requires both a legal perspective as well as one of accountability. If indeed a violation has occurred, then the matter needs to be addressed immediately. Likewise, if this warrants a change of the language in the statute, we can certainly look into that as well. The National Guard is taking over and is now in charge of quarantine operations. And on Monday, they began their mission of transferring individuals from Pacific Star to the newly awarded General Services Agency contract at Hotel Santa Fe in Wyndham Garden. The change in oversight comes after new contracts by the Department of Homeland Security and Civil Defense and Emergency Management Office were signed, approved, and awarded by the GSA, designating Hotel Santa Fe Wyndham Garden to serve as the quarantine facilities for incoming travelers. As we've reported, the previous agreements for quarantine isolation facilities with the local government went unsigned by various officials, including the governor, the AG, BBMR, and civil defense. According to emails obtained by KUAM via FOIA requests, they indicated the governor's legal counsel, Hyun, led the previous negotiations for their procurement. On Monday, during Adeloop's daily press briefing, the media heavily questioned Governor Lulian Guerrero on the contracts and the previous verbal agreements, and she stands by utilizing her special powers.
First of all, it's not an acknowledgement that the first process was illegal or not correct.
Okay. Okay, so then there would be no accountability needed from their governor. How will PacStar's payment then be justified moving forward?
Nick, there is accountability always from our government and our administration. We're very transparent. We're very accountable. We work very closely with our administration. We work very closely with making sure that we are in no violation of the laws and the regulations. The Public Health Emergency Act gives me that authority. And the authority is that I can institute emergency powers to purchase these facilities. And, you know, I have explained in numerous occasions why I did that. And it's all for containing the virus, saving lives. And it's unfortunate that from this virus, we have had 5 fatalities. Nowhere in the history of our disaster in Guam have we ever lost this much individuals who we love so dearly and who are members of our community. So I had to act, like I said, very expeditiously. I had to make decisions right away. So none of the work and none of the actions, none of the decisions that I have made is incorrect. None of the decisions that I have made is illegal. And so I do not acknowledge, because of how we did the second process, any wrongdoing or any illegality or any kinds of violation of laws, rules, and regulations.
Okay, so you and I are paying $93 a night for rooms at the Santa Fe, $110 a night at the Wyndham. Meals are included, and we're only paying for the rooms that we are actually using. As for the governor's cabinet on quarantine patrol, she believes they deserve special recognition for their work.
The Guam National Guard has assumed oversight operations of the quarantine facilities, you know, those now being Santa Fe Hotel and Wyndham Garden, Days Inn. So will the directors and deputy directors that were previously manning the sites be subject to a 14-day quarantine or have to undergo testing prior to returning back to their agencies?
You know, I haven't really discussed that with them. I don't know if they're totally all gone, and I don't know. I think there's a transition period still that's happening because we still have to transition from Pacific Star over to the other facilities. So I don't think we will be doing a 14-day quarantine, but testing is a strong possibility.
Okay, but just to clarify, as far as you know, they will not have to do even at home quarantine or anything.
That's right.
Okay. All right. For my follow-up and just staying on this transition, do you think your cabinet members and political hires who, you know, have described themselves as quarantine soldiers and quarantine shepherds, do they deserve a special recognition for their efforts in responding to COVID? Or do you believe they are already benefiting from their salaries with that additional 15% COVID differential pay, the catered meals that were there? Does that show their efforts were appreciated?
I think all of those show their efforts are being appreciated. And yes, I would like to do a special recognition for these individuals who have sacrificed their families. They have not gone home. These individuals have sacrificed their lives. They have volunteered and they have agreed to put themselves in an environment that has increased exposure to the COVID-19, and what they have done to also allay the fears of our people that are quarantined, to provide the necessities that they need, and to be just there for support for these people that are quarantined. So yes, they do deserve a special recognition.
Sailors are simulating being at sea while moored at Naval Base Guam during the simulation or fast cruise. The crew will simulate normal underway conditions while testing the critical systems required to sustain the ship during its upcoming underway operations. TR Commanding Officer Captain Carlos Sardello says a fast cruise is a major milestone for the ship and for the crew. The captain adding, our sailors have tested all of the ship's systems individually, but this is our opportunity to integrate all of that together and show that the TR is ready and able to go back to sea. In addition to testing the ship's systems, Theodore Roosevelt's crew will also be implementing new measures to protect the crew from possible exposure to COVID. The crew has spent the past month and a half adjusting to their normal work routine while wearing masks and maintaining social distancing. In national news, Boston-based Moderna Therapeutics announced the successful completion of its phase 1 test for a coronavirus vaccine. Skylar Henry has more details from the White House.
A government-run test of a Moderna Therapeutics vaccine candidate showed all 8 recipients developed antibodies for COVID-19.
Those same antibodies that those people had developed actually could neutralize the virus and prevent its ability to infect human cells.
Moderna will soon begin phase 2 trials with the goal of having a viable vaccine by the end of the year.
There are circumstances where the vaccine could be deployed to high-risk populations earlier under something called an emergency use authorization.
The government has launched Operation Warp Speed, which will begin manufacturing several different vaccines before the trials are completed.
We have hundreds of millions of people, so 300 million is the goal, and by January that we would set, whether by one or multiple vaccine candidates.
President Trump is speaking with restaurant executives and the nation's governors this afternoon as he pushes to reopen the country. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell told 60 Minutes that the country will not fully reopen until there is a vaccine.
We can't fully recover, though, until people feel confident that they're safe.
The Fed chief also said Congress needs to inject more money into the economy. But the White House is taking a wait-and-see approach before supporting another massive relief package.
If the economy continues the momentum that we're beginning to see over the last couple of weeks of data, then I think that one might conclude that the stimulus that we've already passed is enough.
The House passed a $3 trillion spending bill Friday evening, but Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has declared it dead on arrival in the Senate. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
In your Banking 671 report, in anticipation of everybody getting their stimulus checks, the Guam Bankers Association is collaborating to assist the community in check cashing in order to adhere to social distancing measures. As the banks work to support the island in this time of need, a GBA would like to make the community aware of the following. ATM deposit and mobile deposit are convenient and safe banking alternatives, and those with no banking relationships may be asked to line up in a designated non-customer check cashing line and will need to provide 2 valid IDs. As such, check cashing is allowed for non-customers at the following institutions: Bank of Guam, Bank of Hawaii, Bank Pacific, and First Hawaiian Bank. And that is your Banking 671 report, sponsored by Bank of Guam and Coast 360.
All right, thank you very much, Serena Salas Mantanani. We'll move quickly, rapidly evolve, and get from the Office of Civil Defense. He's the administrator who just wrapped up the procurement and awarding of new GovGuam hotel quarantine and ISO facilities. Charles Estevez. Good morning, Charles.
Hey, good morning.
Hi.
How's the day?
Yeah, could you clarify that? Are they quarantine or are some of them isolation facilities? Or just
they're both quarantine facilities.
Both quarantine, so they're not isolation at all. Does
Correct.
this include, well, first, the contracts for like Perlis Court and all the other ones, are they already done? They're over with?
As far as I'm tracking, yes.
Okay, and so this is it.
Those all expired, I believe, on the 18th.
Okay. When did PacStar expire? Is it the 23rd? Was it extended for a month?
No, it wasn't extended. So we moved everyone out of PacStar yesterday.
No, but the contract that I saw, it said April. I think it expired on the 22nd or 23rd of April.
I apologize. I'm not sure.
Okay.
How did moving everyone out of Pacific Star go, Charles?
Went fairly smooth. So we moved them to 2 quarantine facilities, and we actually maxed out capacity of both.
Oh, you maxed out. So you're looking at procuring another facility?
Yes. And just to give you the process, so what happened was on the 7th, we developed the concept of operations, went through the scope of work the next day, and actually submitted the requisition on May 9th. And so afterwards, we gave the warning order to the National Guard that they will be conducting facility management. We gave that on the 11th, and then Basically, that Friday, or that entire week, GSA put out the request for interest and also request for quotes. And they received requests for quotes, requests for interest that Friday. We're also able to negotiate prices, and we actually conducted the site inspection and walkthrough that same day. And then the next day, GSA was able to award the vendor late, I believe, like at 10 or 11 that night. So they signed the very next day on Sunday, but that Saturday we had the operations and transition meeting with the previous QFAC team, and then took it from there. And then by Monday, everyone was able to move. So everything had to happen fairly quickly. So I'm just glad that everyone was able to get out of get into these new facilities.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, Charles, in that the governor during the press conference yesterday had defended the first round of procurement, and I'll use that term loosely, of these quarantine facilities. And she had said that, her main argument is that we had to act so quickly that, but you guys have shown that you were able to act just as quickly to secure these facilities, and I don't know what to call it, because if I feel like we call it the right way, somebody's going to get their feelings hurt. So should we call it the traditional way, Charles? What should we call it?
We just call it procurement here. So, I mean, it's emergency procurement. So, and just let you know, this all stems from the governor's order to get out PacStar as soon as possible into these facilities. So, that was basically the trigger point that, she said, do not fail and get everyone into these facilities. Mm-hmm. And so, we made it happen.
Wait, you said there was an order from the governor to get everybody out of PacStar?
No, to get everyone into these procured facilities. So, the 18th was the deadline because, just the extenuous. Basically, there was no plan to extend any of the previously executed contracts. So, to meet her intent, that's where we worked to procure these quarantine facilities.
Okay, so but you're not aware whether or not the PacStar contract had expired, or is? I'm just wondering is it still in effect? Because
I am not. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not sure.
Okay, so you don't know if we're still paying for 389 unused rooms.
I do not know.
But you could find out first.
I can't imagine we would be, but
you've seen Stranger Things.
I'm just saying, all I know is that we have these quarantine facilities and we have purchase orders for them with agreements, and so we'll be able to pay off the invoices that come to us.
And then what will it mean in terms of the reimbursability of these expenses, seeing as how they were done correctly from the beginning this time?
Well, the agreements have the termination clause that's required. We have all the documents. When I say the documents, I'm talking about, we have various quotes. We have emails from different vendors when we request for quotes or interest, transmittal confirmations, requisitions. So, I mean, we have as much we have an abundance of documents. So we're going to work to input this, and we're also working to input the previously executed non-congregate shelters, based off of the documents that's provided there. So it's not the issue's not dead in the water for reimbursement. We're just going to see what FEMA actually says in terms of what they may require in addition to what's already there.
So you're saying that you are going back on the first round of securing the services that was performed by the governor's legal counsel, and you're now trying to put that all together in a way that it could be presented to FEMA for their review?
I mean, absolutely. Like I said, it was done during the height of the emergency, and there's a lot of processes that are changing every day in terms of the FEMA Public Assistance Program on what's eligible and what's not. This is the first time, at least since I've been here, that we've utilized non-congregate shelters. Most of the times we've utilized school gyms and Tier 2 shelters. So So I think there will be a little learning curve on actually processing this as a public assistance project.
So you're basically saying that there's a possibility that this might fly, and if it does fly, then we won't need the $4 million from the CARES Act that's budgeted for mandatory quarantine protocol, and we could probably use that for people that might need the money.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Charles, what do you think though? Because of your your chances of pulling this off. Because I mean, I know that you're going to take it to FEMA and be like, "Hey, we're acting during the height of the emergency," but I'm pretty sure the feds watch the news, and they might have a different take on it. And the take might be that we had a guy running around town ordering people what to do, and then the whole process had to be rammed through this emergency superpowers.
Yeah, fortunately, the federal government, especially FEMA, they don't interfere with local matters, unless it has to do with federal funding, and that's already funding that's been awarded, commingling, supplanting, whatever the case may be. But because we haven't been awarded anything on the FEMA public assistance side, I'm just remaining hopeful.
Yeah.
That's all, and we're going to get provide as much documentation as we can.
I mean, it's not like FEMA's here, so they're probably just kicking back and watching what's going on. I mean,
watching the show.
Yeah. So.
I mean, they're literally. We know they watch the show.
Yeah, I want to say that this whatever issues that may have surfaced is unique to Guam, but I'm pretty sure. Given the uniqueness of this situation, that other states and possibly territories are experiencing the same thing.
Right. Then and that's the thing. That's what we seem to be hearing. It's this. I don't want to say it's an excuse, but it was in the height of the emergency, so we did what we did as fast as we did, and so we're okay. There was no intent to do anything wrong.
The governor defended it pretty hard at the press conference, Charles, and her.
So did the AG.
Yeah, so did the AG. So their comments are kind of opposite of what you had said to us last week, and that you had your questions, you didn't want to sign anything. So how do we kind of match up with and I'm not asking you to go toe to toe with the governor, but if you're able to just respond to her defense of this procurement that she says is. What did she say? Nothing was incorrect.
Yeah, nothing was illegal.
Nothing was illegal.
Yeah, I mean, like I said in my last interview, I think everyone was doing what they believe was in the best interest, and I'm not a lawyer, so the interpretation of the chapter, the Title 10, Chapter 19, if that is the interpretation, then that's what they're acting upon, and the thing is. Like I said, no one's ever asked me to do anything illegal. I don't believe there's malicious intent. I'm just happy that we were able to facilitate the process and the procurement process of these quarantine facilities.
And I get you on the malicious intent. It seems more like, I don't want to say incompetence, but maybe we're a little green when it comes to the procurement. Because you're right, you're not a lawyer, but you know how to do procurement.
Yes, and so we handled it. The quarantine facilities. We handled it this round, and so now we have the purchase orders for the two quarantine sites, and also we're handling the procurement for the homeless safe haven project.
So where are we with that?
Yeah, so right now there was requests for interest and requests for quotes sent out to realtors. And so, we are targeting, one or more facilities. And the thing with these facilities is we can't just throw the homeless into our current quarantine facilities because they're migratory, and a lot of them, we all know where the hotspots are, Hagåtña, Tamuning, right? So I think there's a big focus on the homeless in Hagåtña. So right now that is going through the procurement process. So we're going to let GSA do their work and get the request for interest and request for quotes for hardened shelters, concrete shelters.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, can you talk about the specs for that facility?
Yeah. So it would be a non-congregate shelter as well. We have to make sure that each room has their own bathroom facilities, as well as basically everything you would find in a hotel, but not. So, apartment complexes, old hotels, possible warehouses that can be built out as non-congregate shelters. Because, the thing is, if we just develop a congregate shelter for the homeless, then, we would have to enforce the social distancing aspect of it.
Right.
And so just let you know that is something that's currently being worked through the procurement process as well.
You have a timeline on this, Charles, for the Safe Haven?
Unfortunately, I do not. I mean, ASAP, pretty much everything is always going to be ASAP, given that we're still in an emergency situation.
Right.
We want to make sure that we don't, for this particularly, we want to make sure we don't rush it. The model that we're following is called Project Room Key, and so it's a model utilized in California, and it's been a successful model because FEMA went ahead and said that it is reimbursable. Basically, what they did in Los Angeles for the homeless. So it was a newly converted motel that they utilized for these the quarantine and isolation of these vulnerable population groups.
So do you think that you anticipate a timeline quicker than the 2 months that we've seen? Because since the start of this pandemic and the public health emergency that was declared, we've heard a lot of talk about sheltering the homeless. We heard a lot of talk about putting them at Paseo. We heard a lot of talk about putting them in these tents, and then all that talk was thrown out the window for whatever reason. So I guess that's what I'm asking, Charles. Is I know you're saying ASAP, and is there a reasonable timeline kind of attached to that? So it's definitely not going to be 2 months.
Yeah. Well, I don't imagine it taking 2 months. And now that we were able to procure the quarantine facilities, and I believe we're working to procure another one, only because like I said, we've already reached capacity.
Right.
So that's going to be the next major project that we'll be working with GSA on.
Mm-hmm.
And additionally, we want to make sure we have buy-in from, of course, the Homeless Coalition, the volunteer organizations active in disasters, because we're not in the shelter management business, at least on the long-term side of things.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we have a good partner that's able to, that's comfortable with the project.
Going back to Wyndham and Santa Fe, what's the length of the term for this contract? Is it a month or is it 2 months?
So it's actually an open purchase order. So as we utilize rooms, it's being charged off of the purchase order, and so it allows us flexibility to terminate if need be, or to extend or modify the terms of basically to amend the PO as needed.
Mm-hmm. Do we have to be under this declaration of a public health emergency in order to get federal reimbursement? I mean, because I think this expires June 5th, right?
Yeah.
June 5th?
Yeah.
Would we still need to be in a state of emergency past June 5th and to have these quarantine isolation facilities up and running to be eligible for FEMA reimbursement?
Yes, so it's we already declared the local disaster, put Guam in a state of emergency, but it's also on the FEMA side on the disaster period. So Guam was received its major disaster declaration sometime in March, if I'm not mistaken, and then I don't know the end period, so I would we would have to work with FEMA to determine what is the end period for this major disaster declaration. We may escalate the PCOR and go to PCOR 3, but as long as we have COVID positive people, and we expect there to be a second wave, so it's not that the emergency is entirely over. Additionally, for these non-congregate shelters, the reimbursement period is handled in 30-day increments. So May 22nd is the expiration, so we submitted a request to extend the non-congregate shelter for another 30 days.
The request to FEMA?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're on our second extension. So, sorry, our first extension. So this will be our second extension.
How many extensions do we get?
There's for as long as the emergency continues, or as long as we deem that our most effective mitigation measure is the quarantining of folks.
Charles, I wanted to, because we haven't been able to discuss this double pay issue with you, but you being civil defense and it kind of cutting your teeth on emergencies, whether they be pandemic related or weather related. What's your read on this whole double pay issue? I'm curious.
So I just let you know, we have paid out double time or double pay in the past, and it was a different situation. It was the typhoon type situation. Facilities were closed. I can't speak upon the AG's opinion. I can take it and determine if it's applicable for our agency. Right. So, just based on it, based on the guidance, were we in a declared state of emergency? Yes. What was our facility closed? That's really open to interpretation as well. For us here, we would maybe define that as we're not giving tours, we're not holding training events here at Civil Defense, we're not conducting exercises. We send home all our non-essential personnel and also cease the activities of our non-essential programs here. Then, were there people at home getting paid, and did we have to bring people on? And, the answer is yes. So, if I were to say that our folks are eligible for, some sort of compensation, and, remember the AG's opinion didn't necessarily say that, the double pay was not ineligible for everyone. And a lot of this has to do with a fiscal issue as well. It's really a cash crunch, right? But in terms of the reimbursement, I can say that that everything that's in a pre-written agreement, the DOA personnel rules and regulations, is potentially reimbursable under FEMA Public Assistance Program.
Right.
So that includes a number of things. That's everything from overtime for both exempt, non-exempt, and exempt employees. And I just let you know that that also includes, and this they probably won't be paid out, but directors are eligible for, under the FEMA Public Assistance Program, directors are eligible for overtime.
But in local law, are they eligible for overtime?
So there is no, and the answer is no, and so that's where the two will conflict, right? But
Right, because I thought the public assistance was existing laws had to be in place
prior to the
right.
Absolutely, and so it will be more for those people at the non-director director level. It really depends on what's in the rules and regs. I know they have that the provision in there for paying exempt employees during emergencies as well.
Charles, you're basically saying that the double pay is FEMA reimbursable. Is that am I accurate?
Everything in a pre-existing agreement. So if there was a premium, and we've paid out this type of premium in the past. So my only recommendation would be to submit the FEMA project worksheet first, and then if they approve it, then make sure have the agency would have the paperwork and go back and and the thing with these reimbursements is you cannot get reimbursed unless you pay it, right? And that's sometimes we have trouble with that during post disaster.
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to put in for it. I understand the opinion for the frontliners, and I think it was a very bold and congratulatory move yesterday on the compromise between the Guam Federation of Teachers and what was worked on the policy side.
Right.
And so my role is not zero on the policy side. I'm just here to help get maximize the amount of reimbursements we can post disaster.
So did you, it seems like you have a pretty good relationship with John Jr. Calvo. Did you tell him, like, hey, we could probably use FEMA reimbursement for this double pay issue?
Well, I mean, I tell them what's eligible and what's not.
So he's aware?
Everyone's aware. I mean, it's the guidance.
I don't know about that.
I'm saying I put out the guidance, and like I said, it's the AG's opinion does play a big role in this, right? Because if FEMA may ask the same question, and they may come to the same determination, because everything still has to run through their legal counsel as well, and they may ask the question: was your facility closed? Did you meet these gates? So I mean, it's when I always talk about what's reimbursable or not, I always just talk in terms of eligibility and what's possibly and versus
and then they make the final call, right?
Correct.
So you're saying that, and I think the AG had said something that it's really up to the director. So if you're of the opinion that the double pay is eligible for FEMA reimbursement, can we then assume that you're going to file something on double pay for civil defense employees?
I mean, well, yes. And so if we put in the project worksheet and we're eligible, then we would put it in. We're a little unique because we're 100% federally funded, right? So there's a little bit more steps on our end, right? Because we can't utilize federal funds to pay back other federal funds.
Mm-hmm.
So there are other steps that we would have to do. Like I said, it really all depends on what comes back as being eligible or not. And I talk about the use of federal funds to pay other federal funds. Under the FEMA Public Assistance Program, straight time is potentially paid out eligible as well. So if a person is paid out from a non-general fund account, say a federal fund, then potentially their straight time is reimbursable. Limited term appointments, straight time and overtime is reimbursable. The same with seasonal employees as well. So there's a lot of potential reimbursable items that's listed in the FEMA Public Assistance Program Policy Guide, and anyone who wants a copy, it can be found online. And the thing is that the policy is changing depending on the severity and the unique circumstance of this emergency. I would not be surprised if new policy assistance guidance comes out. We're on version 3.1 of the current PA policy guidance. Mm-hmm. This was issued on April 2018. And so I can tell you that normally when you have a major disaster, like for example what happened in Puerto Rico and Texas with Maria and Harvey, sometimes there's the need to issue out alternative guidance. And so right now the guidance we're using is version 3.1, and we're just standing by for any additional activities that may be eligible under the public assistance program.
Did this 3.1 guidance, new PA guidelines say anything about it's okay to bypass the traditional way of doing emergency procurement? We don't need any paper trail or documents or signed contracts in the height of an emergency?
Well, I can tell you that everything with the public assistance program is document heavy. And so,
no, but does it say that in the 3.1 or the 3.0 or the 2.9?
I think I know
anywhere it says that you don't need to have a paper trail. You could just talk and
email people.
Yeah.
Well, what it does say is that basically the territory. So the territory the states and territories should make their decisions, free and apart from what's reimbursable or not. So. Like I said, it's document heavy, and so if we have the documents, the required documentation, then then they should support eligibility for a project.
Apart from what is reimbursable or not. Okay.
So we shouldn't make our actions based on what's reimbursable or not.
Right. Do what you got to do. In other words.
Right, but in the
Yeah.
emails, it shows there was we need this for it to be reimbursed, and so
Yeah.
there was. It's kind of clear to me that they were trying to go for federal reimbursement.
They just didn't know
Right, yeah.
obviously they didn't know the process.
Yeah, and well, we want to make sure we maximize, the public assistance program. I mean, because if we didn't want to maximize reimbursement on the public assistance program, then there would have been no point in getting a major disaster declaration. We would just have handled it as a local emergency.
Yeah, no,
Charles,
I just feel like that's why you're in the position
Yeah.
that you're in.
I mean,
that's why you have a Homeland Security advisor. That's why you appoint people based on their experience.
I just
and
feel like
utilize them when the time arises.
Adelup is the only
For
one
their
who
need
thinks
and
that this
expertise.
first round of procurement was okay. Everybody else is thinking that we should have just went with OCD and GSA from the get-go.
Maybe
I don't know anyone else who's not employed at Adelup who's defending the first round of procurement.
I know one.
Sorry, I can't speak on that.
Right.
I do know that all a lot of the actions, and you brought up John Junior Calvo earlier. So we work with the chief on. We've been working on the chief on a lot of these new procurements. Just today, this morning, we're working right now to see if we can procure healthcare wraparound services. And so he was asking me if I'm tracking it on DLAN. DLAN is our system of record for all requests. And so, we informed him that we did put a ticket in, and so he, that we're tracking these things through the Emergency Operations Center.
What's healthcare wraparound services?
Previously, the health services of the Pacific at the old quarantine, they're providing
which old quarantine? I'm sorry.
The Pacific Star.
Okay, so they were employed there.
So they're providing services. So the need to provide services at these quarantine facilities is being assessed by public health to determine what the scope of work and the need for it. So so the ticket is in. Once they come back and say yes, we definitely need the service because we can't support our nurses are engaged elsewhere. Then we would work to do the emergency procurement for these services.
Mm-hmm.
And that like I said in the previous interview, that's normally the process is we look internally within the government of Guam to see what we can use to support these resource requests. And if we don't have this capability, then we conduct emergency procurement. And if we don't have the capability on the island, then we ask basically through FEMA to provide capability.
What about the tier 2 clinics? Is there any discussion on how they're going to be compensated or anything on paper? Have you been asked to put eyes on that or to work on anything with that?
No, I believe that's between the Cure Action team and Guam Memorial Hospital. So I would have to defer the question to them.
And then also, so obviously the governor has the health emergency superpowers lane, and then we have the traditional proper lane or whatever. Do you anticipate any more expenditures or purchases being made with the governor's health emergency superpowers?
Well, I mean, we're conducting emergency procurement right now through those powers. So, I mean, I think all future procurement will,
I mean, like the way it was done the first time, Charles. Them using these superpowers without involvement of OCD or GSA.
I just know for all future procurement, it will be done through GSA. As far as I'm tracking.
Okay. So we're looking at wraparound services, and we're looking at a hardened facility for Project Safe Haven, and also the possibility of another quarantine facility. What about isolation facility?
So isolation facility is we're still being worked out through GSA.
Okay.
So nothing's been awarded yet. operation over days, and it is ongoing. We
Isn't
are
there?
trying to-
Isn't I thought their contract expired, or was that renewed?
I'm not sure
Okay.
regarding that one, but I do know we're trying to get the skilled nursing facility up and running to transfer the folks from Days Inn there, and if we can't get that facility up and running, then we are looking, like I said, to procure a separate isolation facility.
Right on. That, man, thank you so much for your time, Charles. I guess in closing, you guys are working the procurement, the traditional route. You're also going to file for the double pay. I'm correct in that for your civil defense staff?
Well, the thing is, I mean, it's, with the new COVID Heroes bill, so if that is applicable to our agency, then, we obviously would not be filing for, because, from what I'm tracking, that is for those people that were not covered under the AG's opinion, right? If that's my understanding.
I see.
So I think it's that that is to cover a gap, right? Because it's essentially the same thing, being able to get leave and then to cash out that leave.
But only at 120, because they cap. I think they cap the what is it? It's 240 hours, and then you could cash out 120 and take 120. Is it CTO? Is that right?
Yeah. So I haven't read it in its entirety, but when I saw it, it's great that it actually fills the gap, right? That may not be eligible, and like I said, it's when an agency puts in documentation, it's FEMA's determination on whether or not it's eligible, and so.
Right. So then, if we pass this new bill, like let's say 250, there's 259 that's speaker.
359.
Oh, 359 that's the speakers, and you have 357, which is vice speaker's bill, and they both have are lean towards paying out or resolving this issue of double pay. Then, because this is a new law, then it wouldn't necessarily be eligible for FEMA reimbursement.
Because it was written in the middle of the pandemic.
Right.
Correct.
We're learning, Charles. We're learning.
Yeah. So remember, pre-written agreements is the key. Documentation is the key.
Right. So if the AG had came out and said, "Yep, let's pay out the double pay," then we would have been good to go with FEMA reimbursement.
Correct. And
it seems so easy. Jesus.
Yeah, and like I said, those are policy decisions.
Or the governor could just pay it out, and then we'd be good to go, right?
Right. We wouldn't have to do a bill, and I don't get it. I don't understand why.
Well, they would, FEMA would still read the policy, and they would probably make that. They may make that determination as well on whether or not we pass a 3-pronged test. So,
right.
So like I said, it's those decisions are policy decisions. What we do here is more on the processes side. And like I said, we work to make sure that we get maximum reimbursement on the public assistance side. It's those decisions made at that level is, I'm sure it's in the best interest of those folks, right? I mean, that were deemed ineligible for the double time or the double pay. So I'm pretty sure that we'll see. A lot of things like this that are going to be implemented to help fill gaps. Because during emergency events, nothing ever really goes according to plan.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's there's this popular saying that we have in the military is that no plan survives first contact with the enemy, right? And so we are learning every day. We are developing.
I feel like that should be Adaloop's motto going to these press conferences.
Well, we're learning.
We had a plan. These damn questions.
Yeah, and just let you know, we have. It's not that plans were thrown away. We have implemented plans. Like for example, the Guam Conference Emergency Management Plan that for the EOC. That's in full effect.
Right.
Has been full effect, and it's one of the prerequisites to actually get a disaster declaration. And so, plans are in place. And like I said, we're going to do our best to ensure that we maximize the federal reimbursement.
Well, thanks for that, Charles. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Okay,
take care.
wash your hands.
Okay, bye all.
Okay, yeah, nice. 9:29. Let's keep it on the phones here. You know, we're going to bring Angel Sablan, who's the executive director of the Mayor's Council of Guam, onto the show. Good morning, Angel.
Hi, good morning, Chris. How are you guys doing?
We're doing pretty good, other than they just killed Liberation yesterday in an offhanded way during a press conference. We find out with a couple sentences from the Gov that no parade,
No carnival.
no carnival, no Liberation.
Yes, we actually had met with the governor back in February before COVID-19 came upon us, and at that meeting we already decided that the administration would take care of the carnival and the parade, and the Mayor's Council would take care of the Queens and raffle and the memorials. But since COVID-19 came, we haven't met, nor we have sat down to plan anything. And so yesterday, we were not totally surprised. I mean, we're just how many weeks away from making it happen. We should have been planning this a long time ago, and nothing has happened. So we feel that even if we were going to have some vendors won't come out, people will probably be afraid to come down on the parade route. It's a whole lot. This whole COVID-19 has just thrown a wrench to everybody, not just here in Guam. I mean, Saipan has already canceled their 4th of July, and many 4th of Julys are also canceled in the States. So, like I said, it wasn't a surprise. But we're going to have to, of course, we're going to still remember that day. I mean, we can't forget our ancestors and those that sacrificed for our freedom. So I was even thinking out loud yesterday. I said, I know KUAM has clips of every parade since we started, and then PBS and some other entities, and maybe we can just get some sponsors together and get a clip of every year's parades back then, and people sit in their homes from their couch and watch, and maybe a small barbecue in the back of their homes. And when they look at these clips, and maybe some of them will recognize, hey, that's me when
Hey, that's me when I was skinny.
Yeah. Right?
But yeah, you're
That
right.
was
You
me when I
don't
was
need a
skinny.
parade
That's Serena when she was still,
Hey,
100 pounds.
Easy there, Angel.
Yeah, but like I said, maybe we can do something like that. We just
Right.
get sponsors together and maybe do a 2-hour show. People sit down and reminisce and think about the years gone past. I mean, we all have to still have hope, and we do. It's just that is it going to be gone sooner than expected, or is it going to just keep on coming? I mean, we were also thinking about why don't we do it maybe for a Thanksgiving parade? Just thank the Lord and thank everybody for
Thank the quarantine shepherds.
We're done, but then we're thinking again that there's going to be a second wave. It's going to be around that time, so I think maybe it's gone for this year, unfortunately.
Yeah.
How's that make you feel, Angel?
Sad. I mean, I've been doing this stuff since Lagrimas Aflagui's time, since back in Governor Joe Ada's time, and this will be the first year that I won't be walking that parade route or even getting people together to do a carnival. So, yeah.
What about the memorials? Are those also going to be canceled?
Well, really, it depends on the governor's declaration. Her she may have lifted some restrictions, but she still says 10 people or less. And memorials, bring a lot of people out because they're there to have a kind of a sort of reunion. People that are still alive from back in 1944 and prior, and so it's going to be very difficult for us to even put that together. But
right,
we leave that up to
really have all the NUMCO go to the memorial sites, and because that's really what it's why they have it is to honor them. So.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, good thing we had a super big celebration last year. I mean, it doesn't make up for not having one this year, but
I know.
I remember we had
Can
the
you
big.
Imagine if it was this happened last year.
Oh, man.
Oh my goodness.
Oh well, but
it is what it is, Angel.
That's all in God's plan, so we'll see what happens. Yes, well, it is what it is right now, and hopefully, I mean, we still stay safe. I mean, like I mentioned, we've lost a lot of lives in the war for our freedom, mean, even as much as I would want to have a parade or celebrate it, I wouldn't want to put people up to probably getting infected just because they want to celebrate the liberation.
Angel, can you speak up just a little? Sorry.
And we have plenty of videos, plenty of things that we can do on our end.
Maybe we can talk to you about that. And, and we can do something and put it together and do just a big 1 hour, 2 hour show and just celebrate our July 21st.
Okay. Sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What else you guys got going on, Angel? As we, in PCOR 2 now, I'm pretty sure the mayor's, with little fanfare because you guys aren't really out there tooting your own horns. But you guys have you started offering some services? How has the PCOR 2 declaration affected operations at our village mayor's offices?
Oh, actually, it made no difference because even in PCOR 1, we were still out there doing the services. Our senior centers have been closed, our adult daycare centers have been closed, but we still feed the Manamco Monday to Friday and deliver the food. And the mayors and their staff also assist in delivering food from GDOE to people that don't have any transportation. So, yeah, our people have still been working, although we've been closed. And mayor's offices are now being inundated by people requesting all kinds of, mayor's verification for all these programs that are ongoing now. So, yeah, it's an endless task, but they still do it.
I'm surprised that the Mayor's Council of Guam doesn't hold their own Zoom press conference just to update the community on what you guys are doing.
Actually, Mayor Savaras and President and I have been talking about it. We want to start getting back into the norm of having some meetings, even just for the council, and then, like you say, to update the community. But you'll probably see something happen here in a week or so.
All right, let me know.
Good.
We will.
How are you guys going to institute the social distancing? Is it just going to be full-on Zoom, Angel, or is that part of the conversation?
It'll probably be, the full-on Zoom, because we'll probably have the officers here, and then all the other mayors can chime in through Zoom.
Okay, that's exciting because, every meeting that I've been to at the Mayor's Council, for the Mayor's Council of Guam, you get a lot of information.
Sabrina loves the Mayor's Council meetings. Hey, Angel, she'll send me down there and it's like, you're coming back with 20 stories. And you see it, I'm like, no, Angel, can I get
and lunch. It's true. Because every mayor that, that's there, they share what's happening in their community and they express concerns about certain things. And, there's always this exchange of ideas. And, in this pandemic crisis, we didn't get a chance to hear a lot from mayors. I'm talking about in official press conferences.
Right.
We reached out to them individually.
Of course.
They're out there.
Yeah, you're right. We know you guys are out there. And so that's why I think with this show, we're so glad to be able to hear from you guys.
Amen.
And maybe it'd be good you call them up individually and let them
we do.
Yeah.
I know you have some of them on before, but yeah.
So thanks. I can't wait for you guys to start the Zoom council meetings.
Yeah, and then we'll invite you guys, and then this may be a time that you guys can ask questions.
Yeah.
Nice. Angel, we're going to, a little bit to close the show, we're going to talk about some donations that were made to the UMATIC mayor's office for some of the villagers there. But just, I know things. Village to village is the need for assistance for the residents. Is it still a big need? Because to hear that UMATIC, which is a small, tight-knit village where everybody's related to everybody, to hear that they're struggling and that they had residents there who needed donations of food and whatnot, kind of was a wake-up call. And to have it happen so late in the game when part of what you're hearing is stimulus.
I know. I mean, every village has a need. I mean, there's residents up to now that still call the mayor's office to see what kind of assistance they can get. And even here in Agatna, who, we always joke that he only has 2 residents on weekends, because everybody's gone. They went back to their own homes while they're working for the government. But even in Agatna, imagine they call asking for whatever. And I know that the mayor of Agatna has given out, I think, over 150 bags of food donations that were given by. So every village has involved itself in helping the community, giving out food. And there's still some people that have not received this stimulus. I mean,
Yeah.
I have people.
Yeah, you're talking to two of them.
Yeah, my staff here goes, I haven't gotten my check, and what happened to it? I said, I don't know. If you filed in 2018, you're probably one of those that are on delay because they're doing everybody that filed for 2019 first, and even those on Social Security or disabilities and veterans disabilities, they still haven't gotten their stimulus either. So yes, the people are hurting, and they're so whatever little help we get, whatever little help communities, former Senator Frank Blas and his group came out and did a big thing in Rigo, in Barrigada, and Second Mesita and Agate, and all those food donations, and we still have, they're still coming in. There's other requests now that people are asking now for diapers and this other stuff, for babies and milk and things like that. So it's kind of different needs, but we still try to help in some way.
Thank you for that. It's so important that you guys are still trying to help, because I feel like the administration has turned the page already and they're just moving on. So it's good to know that you guys have your eyes on that.
And the reality is, these stimulus checks, it's a one and done.
That's it.
Type of deal until Congress.
One and gone.
Yeah, one and gone, and then we still have to wait for the FPUC and the PUA, until that comes out. You're still going to see people out there suffering.
Yes.
I mean, the economy, that's a whole nother issue. I mean, as long as the economy sucks, until we fully recover, there's still going to be people out there that are going to need help.
Bree and Chris and myself, those of us that can, we still try to help whenever we can, however we can. So, when I wake up in the morning, I thank God that, I'm still alive. I just ask Him to give me the energy to be able to get these 26 mayors and vice mayors and all these constituents together and be able to continue to provide them some kind of leadership, because I know the mayors have got all kinds of things on their mind.
Right.
We got a call this morning right here in the office, a lady asking whether or not there's a way we can, do her mayor's verification for residing in a container. And she goes, I need my SNAP and I need, this, but they won't give me anything until I tell them where I'm staying. And she said she's staying in a container. And one of the policies, if you want a verification, you need a residence or an address, or if you're renting or leasing, you need a lease document. Things like that.
Right.
But what do I say to a person like that? All I have is a container. I'm living in a container. I don't even know what the address of this road is. And so we're going to have to go physically out there and see and make sure that, but we're not going to let her by the wayside. We're going to help her as much as we can.
Well, thank you for that, Angel.
Okay, well, thank you, too. Thank you guys for, giving the public the information.
Yeah, thanks for raining on our Liberation Day parade.
Well, all of us.
Yeah. Well, next year, let's come back. We got a little
I'll be in touch with you.
Yeah, like I said, if we can do that thing for this year's Liberation, even one small thing to let people just remember.
Amen.
Our people before us.
And Lieutenant Governor Josh was on the show, and he committed to us that what? It was a commitment that we got from Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio.
You really want that Easter holiday.
We're going to redo Easter after the COVID. So maybe we could do something with Liberation. I'll find out, okay?
All right. You let me know.
I will, Angel. Thank you.
You guys take care, okay?
Wash your hands. All right. Yep. Hey, kudos to the mayors. Man, they're doing it. Good morning. I'm going to get us another Easter if it's a... Okay. 9:43. We'll take a little break, Bree. We'll come back and close out the show here. It's a KUAM News Takeover. Guam's favorite. Containing COVID. Good morning.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
Be healthy. Be informed with IT&D. Be healthy. Be informed with IT&D. Be healthy. Be informed with IT&D. Be healthy. Be informed with IT&D.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
Good night, Chris and Christy. Shouting it out to my Inalahan family at 9:51. Hey, thank you guys so much for containing COVID. And what has been a pretty eventful show. One of the things I want to go back to is our discussion that we had with Dr. Jana Maglotnia from Public Health. She was really pushing, and for good reason, because they worked very hard on the dashboard that's on their website.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about the situational reports that Public Health puts out daily. And so basically the Joint Information Center releases take information from these situational reports. Right. So it's pretty interesting if you look at what Public Health has to say and what they're reporting versus what's being reported in the JIC. She basically said that if you like verses of the Bible, then the JIC is for you. But if you like the Bible, then check Public Health's dashboard. So, and then again, in the interview, if you go back and listen to it, I mean, you guys are smart. You can tell that she basically doesn't want to say that what they do with the information they get from Public Health is they run it through the spin cycle and they put out whatever, they feel the public should digest. Whereas on the dashboard for Public Health, you're getting the
full meal.
The full meal.
Yeah.
9:52. Hey, also, I got a text here from Joe Guam.
Joe Guam.
He says, "Great show, bro. Thank you. Thanks to you and Sabrina." And then he said, "Did you know that GMH is celebrating Hospital Week this week? I just got a request to do a dedication on my live stream." So, actually, no, we didn't.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
We talked to Lily Friday, right?
We did. So, yeah, I mean, Hospital Week, let's give him a big hand.
You just might be getting your double pay.
Maybe. One way or another, GMH. So, yeah, it's Hospital Week there at Guam Memorial Hospital. Also, we're going to close out with our good note coming up here in a little bit. And already kind of setting some stuff up for tomorrow. Definitely want to talk to Christina Schwend. I saw she just joined our Facebook Live feed. Good morning, Christina.
Hi, Christina.
Christina, can we set up a call? I know I said I was going to call you the other day, but it's just been crazy. I want to set up a call with you and touch base with her because I had shot her a video I posted up on my Instagram. I don't know if you saw this one, Bree. It was on the governor's Facebook page. And they basically took what they had said in an informational briefing to the senators. Remember the one where they couldn't ask any questions?
Who? The media?
The senators.
Oh, yes, the informational briefing, yes.
Right. Those that they don't ask us any questions unless it's in writing, and then we'll take 5 years to get back to you. I added that. So
you added that last part.
What they did was the testimony that John Jr. Calvo gave. I mean, I thought it was over the top when I watched the hearing, but then they went and they put some music under it.
I didn't.
Did you guys see this?
I kind of left out.
Yeah. So I mean, that's they gave the informational briefing and then they ended up posting it on the governor's Facebook page as. I mean,
are you sure they played music? Well, what? Or
I'm going to send you the link because they're actually advertising it on Facebook. So, we all know the governor has a Facebook page, and then what they do is they boost these posts. And what does that mean in English? Well, in English, it means they're using your taxpayer dollars to advertise on Facebook. And, it's one thing to advertise information like, hey, go get tested for COVID. Or, hey, this is how you can apply for this program, but it's a kind of another thing altogether. I mean, if you guys watch it, and maybe we'll get it on the show tomorrow, it's pretty much a political commercial. I mean, it's pretty much totally a political commercial that we're paying for in a non-election year. Yeah, and so they put some music under it, and it was something like, it was John Junior Calvo, and he was like, you know, when the time came to save the lives, and they're like, dun, 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 and the music. And then they got a shot of the governor walking, and she's like saluting the National Guard. Anyway, so I put that video on my Instagram, and Christina had commented something I thought was interesting, so definitely want to get her on and get her perspective of that. 9:56 now on Tuesday, the 19th day of May. Say, Bree. Yeah, that's the one right there.
No, I don't. I think this is because. No, I think this is a video that they produced afterwards because.
That's what I'm saying. Is they took the testimony that they gave to the senators, and they played it, and they're probably like, it could be better. What can we do to make it better? And then someone in Adelup with a bright idea was like, let's put music on it.
They actually do different videos. I wonder who they hired to do these promotional videos.
They hired that Michael Marriott guy. He's doing all their video stuff. That's why they got the nice camera. He did a bunch of work for the transition team, and they probably like, hey, he did a bunch of good work during the transition. Let's bring him on officially. I can check his salary, and their propaganda videos is what it is. I mean,
yeah, you've got people for the PPP program,
which is a federal program.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So anyway, you see it now, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right on.
I see what you're talking about.
Okay. 9:57. Are you ready to do a good note, or you still got your looking at the Facebook? Yeah, they have a bunch of little testimonials about the Paycheck Protection Program. Let's give Bree a second. I go on the governor's Facebook every day. I put it, it's on my list. Every day I check, there's like about 10 to 20 different social media, GovGuam, senatorial sites. I just always check them every day just to keep track. Cause
no, my tax dollars are going to pay for this crap?
They're already paying for it, Bree. Unless they're using the CARES Act funding. I wonder if the CARES Act, the Treasury guidance, did it say anything about fluffy propaganda pieces in there? Is that an allowable expense? To put soaring orchestral music under John Junior Calvo's butt-kissing speech there?
Let's end this on a good note.
You're sure? Because I want to make sure you're at a good... I don't want to do a good note and you're still going to be worked up about your taxpayer dollars. You want to do let's do our breathing that Claire taught us, remember? Purple aura.
Let's go.
Okay. 9:59. Yeah, so let's end on a good note here.
Disappointing.
We're ending on a good note now. We're going to bring Liz from Remax onto the show. And Liz, I saw this great thing that you guys did over there at Remax is you raised a bunch of donations. The Village of Umatic had reached out and said, hey, we have a need. And so you guys over at Remax, and we're going to pop these pictures up. We actually did a little montage. Amazing, Liz. This is totally awesome that you guys were able to put together this huge of a donation and get it out there to the community, to the people who need it, people who are going hungry on this island.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning, Liz. We're going to give you the floor here. Just run us through the process and how it...
What happened?
Right. So go ahead.
Well, we saw a bulletin stating that there was food in Agate, and I thought, oh, terrific, the needy can get to it. And then, so we got some chats. Joe Kanata, who's with the Preservation Trust, he's also part of my board members with Inafamalet. And then he piped in that it's all gone. And I said, well, what did you need? And he said, the people of Umatic was, they don't have vehicles, and the mayor normally goes and gets the food. So we decided, hey, let me mobilize my team. Tell me what you need. So he said he needed some food for the needy. So what we did was, within a day's time, the following day we went and bought stuff. Our Remax team all pitched in, and then we put together about 97 bags of food. And it was a combination of bananas, rice, canned goods, but we got some help from some vendors as well who, one vendor in particular donated. But
majority of the items were donated by our REMAX team. So we put it together, and he took it up and shared it with the villagers. And I think it extended to the village of Inalahan. So I'm so proud of our team. They just mobilized, and we put our heads together, put our hands together, and produced all these bags of a variety of different foods and vegetables. It's
Liz,
pretty awesome.
It is. It's pretty. I'm looking at the pictures too, man. Some good families down south. What was the reaction when you put the bags of food into the hands of the people who need it?
Well, we got a lot of thank yous from the villages, but I think the fact that we did something good for our community, it's all about making things better for our community, especially during this time of need, and people are leery about leaving their homes. And I think for the people of Umatilla, many of them do not have vehicles, so they're relying on their mayor to assist them in getting the much needed food items to them. So we're happy. Our team, we're proud and we're happy. REMAX team is very proud and happy that we made it happen for the people in need.
That's absolutely great, and that's why we wanted to bring you on, Liz, and recognize the efforts of you and your team, because to us, and I think to a lot of people out here, and especially to those in need in Umatilla and in Inalahan, you guys are COVID heroes.
Well, thank you. We didn't expect any gratitude, but we certainly, definitely are, from the bottom of our heart, very happy for what we did. We didn't expect any recognition. We just wanted to help.
And that's why we're honoring you here today, Liz.
Well, thank you. It's to our REMAX team. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, and God bless you, okay?
God bless you.
Take care.
Wash your
Stay
hands.
safe.
Okay.
All right.
We
Bye-bye.
will. Right on. Just wanted to end that on a good note, Sabrina.
Yeah, great note. Good note. Wonderful.
Okay. Right. So I'm guessing we're going to be talking about these highly produced videos. Good stuff, huh?
Yeah, great stuff. Waste of money stuff. Let you know.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yep.
Oh!
It is what it is.
Pew, pew.
I'm sure we're going to be seeing more videos.
Yeah. So I mean, we can ask about it. You know, what how much they paying this guy, what the deal is, and all that stuff. 10:03. Hey, it's been a great time with you guys on our award-winning social media networks, of course, right here on the radio where it all began, on the audio stream, Docomo Channel 10, KUAM TV 11. Thank you so much for watching with us today, and we invite you again. Let's do it all again tomorrow. Help us with containing COVID. It's been brought to you by Cabo Enterprises, Coast 360, Ambrose Inc., IT&E, and the Bank of Guam.
We got a dedication.
I forget.
We have a dedication. Yeah, okay.
Yes, we're going to leave you with a special song.
Oh, yeah, we do. Hold on, let me find it. I hope I have it. And we kind of closed with a dedication to Lenny Ramirez yesterday. You know, sadly, a dear, very dear friend. I mean, to describe him as a coworker just doesn't even do the justice, but he is a member of our KUAM family, working hard in the Master Control office. And we're going to go ahead and say bye to you guys. We'll jump off our Facebook live stream. We're going to do this dedication for Len. You know, like a lot of us in this room, definitely a child of the 90s. And I remember one of the jams that Len loved to jam out to. This is going to take me back to like high school.
I don't even know what the song is. I just know that Colin brought it in and wanted to dedicate it to Colin. He's one of our Master Control operators.
Right, and this is coming from the whole KUAM family, a little bit of Stone Temple Pilots.